Oh, yes.
Where's Rachel? Where is she? Where'd you... Harvey? Where did you put her? Where did Harvey put Rachel? Hello. You're watching Nerdish. I lost my shoe. You gotta put your shoe back on. Very good. What are we doing here? Well, we do SAT, ACT prep for everyone. Yes, and the question is not where is Rachel, but when. 8 to 9:30 p.m. That's when Rachel is. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Watch it. Just see what it's like. It's for free. All week long. You can ask us questions like where's Rachel and what you do with Rachel and where is Harvey Dent. They're both studying for the SAT. It's a very important test if you want to go to college or university. Nice. I should have said university first because it rhymes. Oh, that's Catwoman. That's okay. I think we know Catwoman because we're Batmen. Let's do a problem. Yeah. We did exponents last time. What should we do? Let's factor a quadratic. Okay. Man, when it comes to education, I'm an addict. Oh my god, but not that kind of addict. No, just a quadratic addict. I hope this is factorable. Oh, it's gonna be factorable. Add 6. Okay. 6 is for Rachel. Alright. Let's take out a 2. Let's make it equal to 0. That's a good idea. Okay. So let's factor 2. X squared minus 2. How much time do we have before Rachel explodes? Ask Harvey. Harvey. Multiply to positive 3, add to negative 2. I don't think that's possible. Oh, shoot. That's okay. Sometimes you can't factor quadratics. And sometimes you can't save Rachel. I was about to say that. I'm so sorry. No, it's good. It shows that we're tight bonded. Like Tight Bond, original wood glue. It has a tight bond. Like me and Levi.
Hey! Oh man, we got the whole gang here. We got Slayer Darth. We got Ring Matthews. That's the whole gang. Slayer Darth says, Bruce Wayne needs to crunch company numbers, and when he's battling inequalities, gotta solve those linear inequalities. Bruce Wayne is Batman, because we're just doing the Batman things.
Tell everybody he's Batman.
Oh, crap.
We don't non-violence.
It's not about the fact that he's Batman. The fact of the matter is, where's Rachel? He's trying to find her.
That's true.
And that's the important thing. Hey guys, today's a big day. Levi and I are now doing the Cram Sessions on Thursday because Levi and I are in our mid-20s.
Yeah. Wait, did you switch the intro? Or no?
I don't know. No. It's going to start on Tuesday.
Okay.
Oh, excellent. So Robot Dancers put up some questions.
Robot.
Cramming for what? Cramming for what?
The ACT.
The ACT is this Saturday, Ring Matthews. You knew that.
Robot put these questions 2 hours ago, hour and a half ago. So we got to wait until Robot's here.
Very true.
Robot, when you're here, say hello. I don't understand how we have one viewer.
We have 2.
Oh.
See?
Oh, one of them was Stream Elements. Okay.
Is one of them always Stream Elements?
Yes.
So we always have one less than we think we do?
One fewer.
There was not even a word that I had after.
No, it was implied that it was viewers.
Right, I know, but God.
Yeah. It's okay.
Jeez. All right, let the cramming begin. Can you see a list of viewers?
No. Or maybe, and we're stupid?
Yeah, I think we're probably just stupid. Let me go over some common examples of linear qualities. Absolutely.
Yes.
Let's get going on this thing. All right.
We never graphed them for...
Well, that's what we're going to do now.
I'm going to post this on Reddit.
Okay. We're going to start with a simple one that we're going to start with. Y is greater than 5x plus 3. First thing you want to do, if it hasn't already been done, is solve it for y, which it has been done, because it's easier to graph equations when they're solved for y, because they're slope-intercept form, okay? So what you want to do is, first off, graph this thing just like it was slope-intercept form. That is the x-axis, and that is the y. There we go. I saved that one with a very, very large x. All right, so we have a slope of 5 and a y-intercept of 3. Okay, now before we actually put the line down, we either are going to be drawing a dotted line or a solid line, okay? We're going to be drawing a dotted line here. Greater than is dotted, less than is dotted. It's when you have the equals in there as well. Greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, that you make it a solid line. Because the points that apply to this linear inequality, the points that satisfy it, cannot actually be found on this line in this case. They're going to be to one side of it. But if it was greater than or equal to, it could be equal to it, so it could be found on the line. So we show that with a dotted or a solid line. So here we have a y-intercept of 3. I need a new marker. Bear with me. We got technical difficulties. My favorite kind of difficulties. All right, there we go. Y-intercept of 3. And then we have a slope of 5, which is pretty steep. So I'm just going to draw it like this. Okay, now I realize as I'm drawing this that I totally did not take my own directions and make it a dotted line. So I'm going to do that now, and it's going to look very messy. There we go. Good. There's a dotted line for you, and it looks terrible. It looks terrible. Okay, here's your dotted line. So the other thing that's weird is we have to shade to one side because there is a list of points that satisfy this inequalities and there are points that do not satisfy this inequality, okay? There's a very easy trick to figure out which side of the line would be the correct one, and it's just simply this. Y is greater than. That means y is greater than, which means shade up. If y is greater than, you shade up. If y is less than, you shade down. So we're going to shade above this line, which is going to be this side right here. That is above the line, okay? So just an example, any point that's on this side of the line to infinity on this side will work. I will pick one over here. I'm going to make that -10, comma 0. That's my x and y value. Let's just see if it works. So 0 is our y value. So 0 is greater than 5 times -10 plus 3. 0 is greater than -50 plus 3. 0 is greater than -47, which is correct. So that point satisfies that inequality, okay? So now let's try something different. Let's try something different. We're going to say y is less than or equal to -4x plus 1. All right? In this case, we will have a solid line because we can actually be equal to that line. All right? Slope-intercept form, we have a y-intercept of 4, and we have a slope of -4. Sorry, y-intercept of 1. 2, 3, 4, that's -4 over 1. So it's going to look a little something like this, okay? Where are we going to shade? Well, follow that trick. Y is greater than, shade up. Y is less than, shade down. We're going to shade down, and that will be our solution area space thing. Everything below that line, okay? Now, you can also have linear inequality systems. And that is where you're going to have two lines, both with shaded regions, where there will only be one patch that satisfies both. And that's where your solution is actually going to be. So why don't we just combine these two, all right? So we're going to have the same two inequalities, -4x plus 1, and then we have this other one, which is y is greater than 5x plus 3. So all I have to do is just draw one of them on the other one. I'm going to draw this one here over here because I kind of botched the dotted line. So that's going to be 2, 3, and then that's 3, so that's like a 3 again. Okay, so it's going to be like right there, and then it's going to be dotted. There we go. There's a dotted line. Okay. All right. And we are shading above that one. So the question is, what region satisfies both of them? Because there's, like, for instance, here satisfies neither of them. This region down here, it does satisfy the pink one, but it does not satisfy the orange one, and vice versa. We have a region that satisfies the orange one, but not the pink one. So the border of the actual solutions would be, we have to be below that line and above the orange line, and that's going to be right here. This area right here. I'm going to draw little circles and squigglies so you know. That region there is above the dotted line and below the solid line. So if you pick a point from somewhere in that region, it will satisfy both of these, okay? So like normally with a system of equations that are not inequalities, they're equations, you'll find one point, that's their intersection point. There is still that intersection point, which might be important to find, it might not be, but there's also an infinite set of points off in that direction that satisfy the system of inequalities. Slayer Darth, do you have any questions about that? We will answer them promptly, with gusto, our accounting software. It's actually a payroll software, but I was using the word more as with pleasure. Very good. All right. I don't believe so. That is very good. That is extremely good. Our goal is no questions. When everyone on Earth knows everything there is to know about the ACT and SAT, we will be officially done. And on that day, Levi and I will finally rest. We'll take a very, very long rest. This will be the mission of our lives.
Did you do a robot dancer question?
No.
Cool.
Robot dancer is not here.
That's okay. Let's just start with robot dancer stuff.
Do we just want to like message robot dancer on Discord?
Nah, do you?
No, I was gonna say.
Isn't the goal for people to always ask questions though? Yes. Bird was being facetious.
Facetious.
Facetious. Yes.
Yes. No. People will always ask questions. Someday, though, we'll have all the answers, and there will be no more questions. But we are a long, long away. Well, we are a long way away from that day. When humanity has since passed into the annals of cosmic history, there will be no more questions, at least in the human sense. And that is when Levi and I will finally rest.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, as long as we make it through the next century, like, we'll be able to be like a spacefaring civilization. And so we'll be okay when our sun explodes, which it will do in several million or several billion? It's a very long time.
I think it's like 30 years.
Great. We don't need to worry about that. But there is a cosmic end to the universe, because if it continues expanding, eventually matter will be so far apart that stars will no longer be created through gravity. You won't be able to see anything in the sky because nothing is close enough. And things will slowly get colder and colder till the universe is just a cold, dark place. So if we can somehow manage to migrate to parallel universes, then we can migrate to a universe that is not...
Let's just do this one.
Well, that was the question that Slayer Darth had.
Oh, right, you're answering Slayer.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Right.
Then we'll have saved ourselves yet again.
Can you stop it and go check on the Reddit post? Huh? Very good. Sorry about Bird.
There's nothing to apologize for.
Okay. So this is Robot Dancer's question. So Robot, whenever you see this, hi, we're linking you to this later. Or we'll tell you in person when you get here. Okay.
Just liking it?
Yeah, if you want to. The number of bacteria colonies H hours after the beginning of an experiment is given by the function this thing. What does the number 20 represent? Okay, this is a classic, this is more of an SAT question, but this could come up on, actually I've never seen a question like this on the ACT. They don't really do much, what do I want to call this? Equation interpretation stuff on the ACT, do they? You're not paying attention to me.
You just told me to do Reddit stuff.
I know, but I want you to also pay attention to me.
You asked too much of me.
Does the ACT do equation interpreting equations much, or no? They do building equations and solving, of course, but not a lot of...
Yeah, that's much more SAT's domain.
Okay, then I'll skip this one for now, because this is not useful for the ACT. Whoa, that's not what I wanted. There we go. What about this one? It's sideways. Perfect. Yeah, can you see this? Sort of. Okay. If this thing, where c is a positive constant, can be written as that, what is the value of c? Okay, I'm not sure what was wrong here. I'm not going to do this one because it's sideways, and it's not going to help anybody. And I don't want to write out that whole thing. This is 13. Okay, we'll try this one. This is more likely to be useful. Let's do this one. Okay. Give me a sec and I'll pull this down. Very good. It's an SAT question, but could very easily be on the ACT. Hopefully we can read this. Someone just comment? Yes. Sideways equations, like kids with backwards caps. Yes, it's just like those people, for sure. Okay. Homeowners Association limits the dimensions of pools that it will allow in a particular subdivision. Sure. The bylaws state that permits will... Wow, this is way more complicated than necessary. The bylaws state that permits will only be granted for pools shaped like rectangular prisms. Sure. Okay, so that's just a normal pool. Okay. So all of that's pretty useless. For which the sum of the length of the pool and the perimeter of the vertical side containing the ladder, okay, cannot exceed 200 meters. So the sum of the length of the pool, okay, so I'm going to draw, where are my markers, Bird? Ah, markers! Okay.
Nobody is on screen, my lord.
I'm on screen, my lord.
My lord.
Did you see my post, Bird?
Yeah, I see it.
Cool.
It's just a quick one.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just want me to look at it?
I want you to just keep looking at it. What do you want to do?
Geez, anything but that.
You want to come and do this problem with me?
Yes.
What have I screwed up here?
No, it's fine. Oh, you have screwed up something, haven't you? No, dear God.
What have I done?
No,
what
no,
have I done?
We should go right to here and then up.
No?
This rectangle here, which is also not a rectangle, it's not the same as this at all.
It was just very bad. This should be like that.
There you go.
There. Yeah, there we go. Okay,
Yep.
better. All right, so here's your pool, and here's the length of the pool. And then we need a ladder on the pool. So we're going to put the ladder here. That's a ladder.
It's a pretty good ladder.
Yeah. I'll give it a little thing. And that's much worse now. So, and the vertical, the length of the pool and the perimeter of the vertical side. So that means we're going to do this in blue.
You gotta get some width and height on this thing.
Yeah, the perimeter of the so here's the vertical side. I'm gonna highlight it in blue, which also signifies water, which is unhelpful in this situation.
You're good. It's a vertical wall of water.
So that vertical wall is the one that's the vertical wall. I'll just write that here. Vert wall. I think maybe it's just a confusing way of wording this problem. That's my guess. And the perimeter of that thing cannot exceed 200 meters, right? Okay,
the sum of the length and the perimeter of that.
Right. So let's say that we have, this is width here, and this is height. So we have length, width, and height, just like any normal rectangular prism. And they cannot, so the perimeter of that. So the perimeter of the vertical wall, I'm going to do in blue, and that'll be 2 times W plus H. And if we add that to the length, it must be, cannot exceed, right? So less than or equal to 200. We're assuming meters for all of this.
Meters, yeah.
The perimeter of the ladder side is determined using the width and depth of the pool.
Yes.
Okay, sure. Well, I did height, whatever. If a pool has length 75 meters and its width is 1.5 times its depth. Okay, so I'm just going to write this. So L equals 75. And the width is
1.5 times h.
So width means equals 1.5 times the height. So I'll do h here.
Now, height and depth are interchangeable here.
I'm just going to replace it then.
Okay, sounds good.
Might as well. Depth.
Depthward.
D, D, and D.
Ha, ha. They use depth as A in the next sentence.
Do they really?
Yeah.
That's so stupid. Okay, which of the following shows the allowable depth in meters of the pool? Okay, so this is our equation. Let's see if we can do it. We do have 3 equations and 3 variables, so we're going to be fine. This is barely an equation, but it is. So we're going to put everything into this equation, I would say. So we're going to put in 75 for L, and we're going to put in, we want D, right? So I'm going to plug in for W, yeah. So I'll take this guy and put it in for W.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. So this is as straightforward an approach as I can think of. You're always building equations with this type of thing. That's also, or inequalities. Building equations, building inequalities, that's one of the most important skills in life, really.
You're building.
For your whole life.
You're building.
Yeah, your life's an equation.
That you're building constantly.
Right.
And then you finally solve it right when you die.
Yep, and then you're dead. Very good. So we have 1.5d plus d plus 75 is less than or equal to 200.
Yay!
Perfect. And now we get 3d plus 2d is less than or equal to, we're going to subtract 75 from both sides, and we're going to get 125. Then we'll get 5d is less than 125. Was there a decimal anywhere?
No.
Or no?
Just
No.
fractions.
Okay, and then d, or a, whatever, is less than 25
Yay!
meters. And that would, I assume, have to be greater than 0.
Right. You can't have a negative depth here, because then that means the pool is coming out of the base of it.
Yes.
Like if this is ground level and the pool is this way, the water is somehow going upwards.
So the answer is D. I'm not sure. So robot, whenever you watch this, you circled D.
Yeah,
I don't know
you
if
circled it.
I don't know if you had no idea what to do and you just circled the right answer because you knew it, or something else happened that was, utterly unspeakable. Also could have happened.
Utterly unspeakable.
Yes.
I had trouble saying that for a second.
Me too.
Utterly.
All right, so that's this. Robot, any questions? No, you're not here.
Ha!
I'll show you later.
Ha! I like it when Robot's not here and we answer his or her questions.
Yes.
You know if Robot's a boy or girl?
Robot, I would think.
Oh, it's a robot, that's right.
Oh, was this just happening? Oh, thank you for rotating that, Matthew. Sucky Charms, can you go over the reading tips and tricks, also for science?
Oh, Sucky Charms, you found us. Yes.
Sucky Charms, can you say hi? Are you here? Or Sucky Charms in Discord, wherever you are on Twitch. Assuming you're on Twitch, you might not be.
You might not be.
You might be
You can
elsewhere.
say hi on Discord. We would recommend on Twitch that you get yourself a little handle, because we're looking at a chat where we see everyone's handles and we see their questions and all that stuff. Hey! Now,
Oh,
okay,
Deep
wait.
Blue. Are you
Are
Deep
you,
Blue?
Are you Sucky Charms?
Are you Sucky Charms or are you somebody else? But
I never thought.
you
I never thought I'd say the
Very good.
sentence "Deep Blue." Are you Sucky Charms in my life?
I always wished I would. I just never believed I could.
Well, you could the whole
I
time.
could the whole time.
It was always in here because that's where your markers are.
Yes. I keep stupid sentences in my market pocket.
For a question like if 15bx minus 20 is greater than 35, 15bx minus 20 is greater than 3,515, bx minus 20 is greater than 35, where b is a positive constant. Which of the following best describes all possibility of 4x? Oh, okay. Slayer Darth, do you have a picture of this thing? Because I'm not sure I can follow. The text is a little difficult to understand. Okay. If 15bx minus 20 is greater than 35, where b is a positive constant, which of the following best describes all possible values of 4 minus 3bx? Oh, I got this. I got this. So you might think that you want to solve this thing for x and then put things into place. But a little something better is to solve directly for 4 minus 3bx. We'll show you how that's going to work in just a sec. Minus 20.
Keep writing that down. I'm going to say something to Deep Blue. Deep Blue, can you... Do you have a specific test you want us to go through? I'm happy to pull up any random ACT. I can do that, and we can go through some approaches to the reading and science sections in general. But if you have a specific test you want us to do, just link us to it in... link it in the Discord, and then we'll follow it there, or we'll just pull up our own. Either way. Okay.
Ring Matthews, I'm way ahead of you. Actually, I'm exactly at your speed. All right, this is a little better. Things have been simplified. So we have to get this right here to look like 4 minus 3bx. And we're actually very, very close. This right here is just the opposite of 4 minus 3bx. I'm sure that sounds good. I don't have a specific test. Yeah?
Did you have one of my yodels?
No. I put on your shoes, though, then I ate your yodels, but I didn't just have one of your yodels. So there's two things we could do. We gotta either move both of these over to the other side, because then we'd be adding 4 and subtracting 3bx, or we can divide everything by -1. Both of them will have the same result. I'm going to divide everything by -1, because watch what happens. Negative 3bx plus 4. Remember, this is an inequality, so we're going to switch the sign because we divided by negative is -7. This, if we just flip these and put this first, would give us 4 minus 3bx is less than -7. And then we are good to go. We're good to go, Slayer Darth. Slayer Darth, I think of Darth Vader. Is Slayer Darth like similar to that, or am I just kind of... am I just shooting into nowhere? I'm not really sure if that's... I'm pretty sure that's not a phrase. What am I looking for, Levi? Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay. Deep Blue, do you want to start with science or reading? It was taken. Darth Slayer. So now you're Slayer Darth. I understand, Slayer Darth. It's a very logical course of actions. Right. Yep, that makes complete sense. I probably, although I'm not definitely sure, but I probably would have done the same exact thing had I been in your shoes. Probably. If that makes you feel any better about the choices you've made. I'm trying to affirm your choices. Anyway, Sucky Charms. That is a great, great name. Science or reading first? Levi, did Sucky Charms want... I see, so I basically simplified the reading. Okay, yeah, reading. Yeah, Sucky Dar, I did that just to make things simpler for myself. Like, yeah, we're going to eventually have it to 3bx, but I actually just wanted to do this for my own sanity. It just so happens that turning this into 3bx gets us close to where we want to go anyway. But yeah, don't worry about solving for x. Just try to manipulate things around to get it into 4 minus 3bx. It's just like this. If you have something like, x plus 4 is equal to 10, then what's the value of 2x plus 8? Now, this one is super easy. You could just solve this thing for x immediately, but if you look at the relationship between this and this is just double that. So we can go straight to here if we just double both sides, which means that that's going to be 20. And I have cut out the middlemen. I have not even solved for x. And you know what? I feel no shame about it. I feel no shame. Math is about being lazy, doing things quickly if there's a faster way. All right, Levi, do you want to talk reading?
Oh, I want to talk it.
Very good.
Okay. Let me just pull up a little test real quick.
Deep Blue.
ACT 74.
What has been the obstacle to higher scores on the reading section? Or is this your first ACT? Because some students have a lot of trouble finishing it on time, so it boils down to identifying the scale factor. Yes, later, in this case, yes. And then moving these around a little bit because you had to flip the 3bx and the 4 to turn it into what they wanted, which is like an inequality situation. But anyway, Deep Blue, is it accuracy? Are you getting things wrong? Are you not finishing on time? Because with reading and science, finishing on time is exceedingly difficult. And there are ways to speed yourself up with little cheat codes. One of them is up, up, B, left, down, right trigger, B. If you do that, you'll get twice as much time on the reading section.
The most helpful tutor I know, by the way.
Hey man, if you pay me, I'll be helpful. If not, I will mix it with just, I don't know, tangents and wrong turns and all sorts of useless aphorisms and epithets.
Not finishing on time.
On both.
That sounds like a Deep Blue problem. What do you think?
That sounds like a Sucky Charms problem.
Oh, God.
All right, let's talk. Let's talk about finishing things on time. First off, have you taken an ACT before Deep Blue? I trust that you either have done a practice test, at the very least, because you know that you have trouble finishing on time. The order of the reading passages is always the same. There is the prose narrative, and then there is the social sciences, and then there is the arts and humanities. Keep scrolling. This is fun.
But it's so much, like, they're not getting anything out of me scrolling and showing this.
All right, well, I thought it was fun to like coordinate it. And then there's natural science. If there is one that you consistently do not like, and you find it hard or difficult, difficult to understand or something like that, I would recommend leaving that till the end. In fact, definitely leave that till the end. Okay, it's always better to leave things that take you longer until the end. Slayer Darth, can you qualify for extra time on something like the SATs if you have a registered cognitive disability? Yeah, you know what? You have to talk to your your school counselor.
But Darth is in England, right?
Yes, they still have school counselors there.
I don't think so.
They don't have school counselors?
No.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes, Slayer Darth. Yeah, talk to your school counselor about accommodations. Anyway, so yes, you want to definitely leave. And usually it's either the science or the narrative passage. They're the most, I would say, extreme cases of what the reading section is about. He'll be taken privately anyway. There we go. Okay. So there are a couple ways to gain some speed on reading. Levi and I both do a couple things in common, both things a little different. Do you want to start?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you're taking the test in 2 days. If we're going to radically alter your strategy here, you probably want to do at least a practice section sometime between now and the test. Extreme cases being like the narrative can sometimes be super artsy, and for some students, that's just not how they operate. And sometimes, the sciencey section can be super full of sciencey stuff, and for other students, that's not how they operate. The middle two are a little more tame and bland. They're very understandable for most students. That's what I mean by extreme cases. They're on different sides of what reading could be, genres of reading. And some students can just handle all of it equally, and they have no preference. Other students have a preference. Yep. Anyway, yes, so you definitely want to practice the strategies we're about to talk about and not just listen to them now and then pull them out on test day. Levi, I'll give you the floor.
Okay. I like you on the floor with me here, just standing next to me.
Someday.
Yeah, someday? Okay. So, let's start with passage 1. There are a couple different approaches you can do to save time. You can skim. That's what I do. It's where I read as much as necessary to understand what's generally happening, but not picking up all the details, because the details will come, and most of the details are irrelevant. I don't actually need to know them to get everything right on the questions, right? So it's taking a page out of the science sections book where you're not trying to get everything from the passage before you start doing the questions. So I try to take no more than a minute and a half tops to finish reading the passage. And I don't really know the real nitty-gritty details about it, but I know enough to be able to orient myself for each question, and then I do the deeper reading that I have to do on a question-by-question basis. So let me show you. Okay, so reading that top little blurb can sometimes help. In the literary narrative, not as much necessarily as in the science or the history one. The history one generally has a very helpful blurb because it gives you a time period. And the history ones are when you get some of the old Englishy stuff. Now these are too, but you figure it out pretty quickly. So I'm just reading the top. This passage is adapted from the essay Rough Water by David something from 2008 or 9. I can't really read that, honestly. Okay, so that's fine, 2008. So it's somebody's essay about rough water. Great. Okay, so first sentence. And so the way I skim is I read a sentence and I really read it, and I see if I can figure out what's going on. If I know that there's something I'm missing, then I'll keep reading until I get it, and then I'll skip. So one of my best races could hardly be called a race at all. All right, so now we know a couple things right off the bat. We don't have to pause and take stock like this slowly, but this is what I would recommend thinking. One of my best races could hardly be called a race at all. So the narrator races something. We're talking about water, so they race in the water, most likely. Yeah, so I was a senior in high school gunning to qualify for the USA Junior Nationals. The previous summer I had missed the cut by less than a second in the mile, and just the day before my high school regional meet, I had come within 0.3 of a second in the 500-yard freestyle. Okay, that last sentence probably didn't even need to read it. Now we know what's going on, right? The narrator is a swimmer. They're going to junior nationals for the USA. They're probably a very good swimmer. They missed the cut barely. Let's skip. Maybe not to the next paragraph all the way, but maybe towards the end of this first one. So 40 lengths of the... no, they're still talking about the same swim stuff. Maybe the last sentence. I had 15 seconds to drop to qualify. Great. Now we go on to the next paragraph. So we read the first 2 sentences, the last sentence here, and now we're on the next paragraph. We may not do the whole thing. So this is how I skim. It's not about reading every sentence and doing every other word or something like that. It is about reading very closely, but not reading everything, and you read until you get it, and then you jump. So we've jumped down. By the time I stood up on the blocks, I was not only the only one in the race, I was practically the only one in the natatorium. The horn sounded and I dove in. I was angry and disheartened. That's probably important. The narrator is now saying how they feel. So we'll just leave that there. So they just started the race. Let's skip. About 600 yards in, my coach started to pace. I stayed steady on, not in a hurry. Okay, so this is the race now, right? We understand that they're going through the race. We don't need the nitty-gritty details of the race. We know where it's happening. So when they probably ask a question about during the race, we'll go here. Let's skip. Sometimes a moment comes along when the world slows down, and though everything else moves around us at the same frenetic speed, we're afforded the opportunity to reflect in real time. Okay, yada, yada, yada. Wormhole stuff. Okay, so this is clearly a change in perspective, right? The world slows down. I actually want to read a little bit more just to see what's going on. So up at the top of the second column, I remembered a day in late September. So now it sounds like they're looking back in their past. So that's interesting. So we'll keep that in mind. Next paragraph. So second to last one. The triangular backstroke flags were they go across the lane, so it's more description. Let's skip a couple lines in the same paragraph. I tried that day and missed. Since I would not have another shot until May, I decided to try again. Squared up and ran, my feet wet again. What is happening here? Okay, so either they've gotten out of the pool or this is their memory. So this is where you need to be very, very aware of what's going on, because we don't know. We haven't read closely enough, or I haven't at least, to know for sure if we're talking about the current moment or the past, because they talked about going into the past.
I have done this passage a bunch of times, so if you are...
Yeah, I'm not going to answer all the questions.
Okay.
Yeah. NT-HD. I get 40 out of 40 reading with 3 to 5 minutes left, but I can never finish science. That's very interesting. Are you reading the passages in science? Yes. Thank you, Ring Matthews. Okay, and then last paragraph. Now it was March, and I was down to my last opportunity thinking about the day. Okay, so I think that was a memory based on how this last paragraph starts, but I'll leave it alone. What I understood, not later, but right then in the water, was how little this swim added up to in the world. Oh, that's very interesting. We're back in the water, which means that this probably was a memory, and now we're saying, or the narrator is saying, this doesn't seem that important, or it seems small, something like that. And then let's just read the last couple lines. For good measure, I've never sprinted harder in my life, not before and not since. I hit the wall. I knew by instinct, by the spasm of my tendon. Okay, so I'm tired. But I made it. That's the last couple of words. Great. So we just read that. That took about 7 minutes. But that is how I approach skimming. Okay, so it's close reading, but jumping. So you're not reading everything, but now I know the general outline of things, and I can go anywhere in the passage necessary. So we talk about missing the last qualification thing. We're at the junior nationals, and then I'm on the blocks, or the narrator's on the blocks, basically alone in this natatorium, and they go in, and people right. So this is just a description of the race, and then we have a flashback for the next 2 paragraphs about something, running or something, because it's not in the water, and then the last paragraph is putting it into perspective, and then they make it at the end. Great. So that's all I know. I don't really know much deeper about this narrator. let's see the questions. So this is where this strategy will break down if you do the questions in the wrong order. Thank you for the, oh boy, was that a follow or was that a follow? It was a follow. Thank you for the follow. Skr. Okay, so this breaks down if you start doing the main idea questions first, because I don't know what the main idea of this. I know what the general topic is, but I don't really know the main idea. Thank you for the follow, Deep Blue. Okay, so question 1. The narrator of the passage can best be described as... No, we're not going to do that yet because that's too general and we haven't built up our understanding. We want to do the simpler questions first. So I'm going to look for vocab and context questions. There might not be any, which is annoying. Thank you for the follow, HD, anti-HD. Which of the following? No, no, no. Okay, unfortunately there doesn't seem to be any vocab and context. That's the one where it says in the context of this passage, what does this word mean? And they give you a couple options. But you would do those first because they don't require much understanding. You just go back and you read that sentence, maybe the ones before and after as well if necessary. Then we go to the other detail-oriented questions. It's great when they give us line numbers because it tells us more information of exactly where to go. But we want to do the more basic questions. So question 2 is, which of the following events mentioned in the passage happened first chronologically? Well, there was a flashback, right? So that's going to help us. I'm just going to go through it and see if I can eliminate definitely some of these answer choices, but I'm not going to answer this question because I don't want to take all that time to make sure I'm right. But F, the narrator stood on the blocks at the Sunday time trial, his senior year. Okay, that's where he was in the moment of this passage, current. And then G, the narrator leapt out over the diving well in late September. That's the flashback, right? That was the beginning of those 2-paragraph flashbacks. So that happened before F. The narrator swam the 500-yard freestyle in high school regional meet as a senior. That was in the first paragraph. Also, the fact that they say 500-yard freestyle, you can find that very easily. That's too specific to not have actually been written down, or it's just not there. So that happened, I think, we can, let's just double check. So I think that happened the year before this current moment, and I'll just make sure. Yeah, lines 6, 7, 8. Yeah, at my high school. Oh no, it was just the day before. I had come 0.3 of a second short in the 500. So that is before F's answer, but it's not before G, which is a flashback to earlier. And then J, the narrator heard a boy from a rival school cheering. I'm gonna guess that was during the current race. It was? Okay, yeah, so it's during the current race. So this is actually a great question to answer if you know there's a flashback. You might be missing it. And if I had missed that flashback, G would have told me that, because the narrator leapt out over the diving well in late September. That's totally different from all the other ones. And when you're doing these questions, you want to have an awareness of when something's totally out of your understanding of something. It's probably not that it's just not there. You need to actually consider the possibility that it is. It doesn't mean it's the right answer, but it should make you think twice. So I'm going to go with G because that was the flashback. So that one's done. And then 3, the narrator describes the natatorium as being nearly empty. I know where to go. I'm not going to answer this question, but we said natatorium, and I think in the second paragraph. So we go there and we read closely that paragraph for the first time, only because we need to. Okay? Thank you for the cheer for 2 bits, Henty. And also thank you for the follow, Blackout. So that is the approach that I like taking, where I skim, which is just close reading and then jumping once I know what's going on, what's going to be talked about for a couple sentences or something like that. Then I do the easy questions first, then go to the bigger, harder questions. So we have vocab and context, chronology questions, and things with line numbers help, and then go to the what's the purpose of the last paragraph, and then what's the purpose of the whole passage, or what's the narrator's tone. Those things come later because you've read more and more of the passage, and you can put those together. Please let me know if you have any questions on that particular approach. That saves me a lot of time. I'm a very slow reader, so that's what I do. Brady, do you want to explain your approach, or I can do it also?
I will explain my approach.
Okay. Brady's approach is going to the questions first.
Kind of.
And doing all of them without looking at the passage.
That's not what that is
Ever.
completely wrong.
No, you always say that.
I should have two quickly. I have a
right.
Go.
You have a what?
I'm lightheaded,
Oh, okay.
which is the perfect time to start talking.
Yes.
All right, so get ready for a little cheat code that's going to speed you up a little bit. Okay. Now, first off, there are two different ways to run out of time. There is it takes you way too long to read the passages. They should only take you 3 to 4 minutes. Or you're spending way too much time on questions. They should only take you about 45 seconds apiece. So if you've ever just timed yourself reading a passage, that'd be a smart thing to do. If you feel like a certain question's taking you way too long, as soon as you recognize that you're confused or you're not going to know the answer, circle it, keep moving. Come back if you have time, okay? It's better that you get through more questions and have a couple that you don't know than you just focus way too hard on fewer questions.
Yes.
Fewer questions. Get them right, but you don't get to a lot of the later questions. Can I ask a question about the science section? Yeah, go for it. Go for it. We will talk about the science section in just a bit after we finish this. But if it's a quick one, then I can answer it while I'm talking about this. All right. Yes. So here is your cheat code about the reading section. There will always be a couple of questions that deal with page numbers. So I'm looking at these questions right now. Let's see. Page numbers. Okay, so number 6, we have a page number right there, line 80. Number 8, we have page numbers right there, 35 to 36. And then number 10, we have a page number is line 67. So here's the strategy. The very first thing you do is you turn to the questions. You don't read them closely. In fact, don't read them at all. Skim over them and see if you can find line numbers. This thing that I'm about to tell you should take you no longer than 15 seconds. Because if you can't do it that fast, it's not going to save you time. What you're going to do is look at those questions, underline the line numbers very quickly. So in question number 6, underline line 80, question number 8, underline 35 to 36, and then question number 10, go ahead and underline 67. Then you go to the passage and you place a little mark next to those lines, okay? So I know we had line 80, sorry. I'm just going to make up where these line numbers are because I can't really put them on the passage. Let's say that they asked us about these line numbers, they asked us about this paragraph here, and then they asked us about a vocab word that was right in that, okay? So write a little vertical line next to those line numbers. Once you're good with that, you start reading. Start reading. When you get to this line, this marking, you know there's a question about this, so pay extra close attention. As soon as you finish these lines, go to that question and do it immediately. Here's how this is going to save you time. If you read through everything and then start going to questions and then eventually get to the question that these line numbers pertain to, you will have forgotten what those lines said. You will come back and you will read this part a second time, which is what you normally do with questions, is you go back to the passage and find where they talked about something. Then you're like, okay, I know the answer, and then you go back and you put the answer in. If you know there's a question about this on the first read through, as soon as you're finished reading it, do that question immediately. Come back and then keep reading. All right, keep reading. Ooh, question right here. It's ready for the SAT as well. SAT is not as much for timing, so this is not as important. I would say that if you're not having trouble finishing the SAT on time, then don't really worry. The problem with the SAT, especially with evidence, is that the SAT gives you 4 possible evidence answers for some questions. So it's difficult you don't want to underline all those or put a marking next to all those because they're not necessarily going to be questions that deal with those pieces of evidence. It's only one of those pieces of evidence that you're going to actually need. So I'd recommend staying away from this. Anyway, you keep reading, you get to this question. Once you finish reading this, you go and do that question, come back, keep reading. We have this question, go and do that question, good, come back. You've now finished 3 questions. There's no more marked lines, so now you just read through the rest of the passage, and then you go to your questions, and at that point, you've already done 3 of the questions, and you will not have to come back for those ones, okay? That is a way to trim a good 30 seconds. No, more than that, I would say. If you have 3 questions that have line numbers, you're going to come back and read those things again. You're going to save about a minute on each of the passages doing this. Having an extra 4 minutes can mean a huge difference to your score. R4R, 4280. How do you improve answering the science questions correctly the first time? I usually finish...
We'll get to it later. Just finish the reading and we'll do science.
Okay, all right. We will talk about your question in just a very small amount of time, okay? So this way, you will be able to do the reading sections with a little bit more time on your hands at the end. Hopefully, you can get to the end. If not, don't worry about it, because most students can't finish this. You can still get a pretty good score without finishing this in total, as long as your accuracy is pretty good. But they make this difficult on purpose, because if this was easy to finish, then too many kids would get perfect scores, and then your distribution would not look like a bell curve, which is what they want. It would look like this. And they want to try to space kids out as much as possible with these tests. That's why they make it so difficult to finish. If you still are taking a lot of time on these sections, there is another thing you could do, which is, I don't know, Levi, you talked about skimming.
I talked about my way of skimming.
Yeah, so Levi and I have two different ways of skimming, and one of them is right and one of them is wrong. And let's just say that I do the wrong one and Levi does the right one.
We should say that.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Neutron, question about the split passage is a very good question. Real quick, so with skimming, the way that I do skimming is I do not skim on the very first passage because that's literary. It's a story. You can't really skim effectively on a story because you're going to miss some important stuff. On, oh jeez, how do I get rid of this thing?
What are you looking for?
Oh jeez, I turned on the background. Not that it matters that much. Can you come figure this out?
Yes,
while
I will
okay.
figure it out.
I put the math thing up on accident.
Oh, shh.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. It's all right. It's all right. Do not stop. It doesn't worry. It doesn't matter. I've totally forgot what I was talking about. All right. So for the next three, these are all informational passages.
Should I whisper sweet tips and tricks in your ear?
I like sweet tips and tricks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's how I recommend skimming. Don't do this if you don't have to. But if you absolutely have to, here's a way to do this. You read where the most important information of the passage is. And there are a couple different places where you're going to find that. Number one, the first paragraph, the introduction that brings the reader in, tells the reader what they're about to read. Number two, topic sentences of all of the body paragraphs. Bam, there's one over there. Number three, the concluding paragraph of the essay. If you read those things, you'll have a general idea of what the essay was about, and you'll also know what each paragraph in the middle was probably about based off of the topic sentences. You will not get a lot of details that way, so you will have to hunt around for a lot of the questions, because a lot of the questions on the reading section are just detail questions. It's, what did he say when she told him to stop yawning? Things like that. Now, we got a follower, Does Blender. Fantastic. Thank you, King Does Blender. That's an interesting name. Anyway, and you can combine this with the line number trick I just taught you. Hey, we got another Levi. We're getting plenty of followers here. We just got two more followers.
Be tripping over each other.
Oh my gosh, we got another one. Literally, what is happening? You guys need to calm down. We don't want any more followers. I'm kidding, obviously. All right, you can combine this advertising on Discord. Advertising on Discord. Oh, okay.
Wait, what?
How so? Who's advertising on Discord? Ring Matthews, say more. You can combine this with the line number thing. So like if you read the intro paragraph, the topic sentence, and then you get to this point, normally you'd only read the topic sentence of this paragraph, but because you got your line number question here, you definitely want to read these sentences and then go do that question. So no matter what strategy you employ, whether it's reading the entire passage, which you have time, I would advise you to do, as long as it doesn't take you longer than 3.5 minutes. Either way, that or skimming, you definitely want to do this line number thing because it will make those. That's why we have 16 viewers. Oh, you were advertising on Discord. Ring Matthews. Thank you. Where are you doing that? Where did you post something? We're very interested.
It's definitely the ACT Discord.
You went to the ACT Discord. Yeah, why don't we do that?
What?
Why don't we do that?
I did on the Reddit because we get yelled at if we do it.
Oh, we get yelled at. Okay.
Or we get kicked out.
Or we get kicked out, right? Because they don't want people advertising, which is what this is, because this is a very, very expensive service that we're offering. So naturally, it's advertising if we try to get you to do it.
They don't quite understand how much nutrients we get from questions.
Oh, that's true. How many nutrients?
No.
Nutrients.
Nutrients is an uncountable entity.
Oh, you can count nutrients. Vitamin D, potassium. Those are
no,
nutrients.
you're not counting. You're saying different.
Those are two nutrients.
Yes.
There are 7 nutrients in this vitamin. That's countable.
No, but
That's countable.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No.
There are 2 different ways to think about nutrients. One of them is uncountable. I'll give you that. But there's another way you can think about it.
No.
Dude, nutrients have names. The human body needs a bunch of different things that we call nutrients.
Okay.
Oh, very good.
But they have names.
That's what I'm saying. I came over from Reddit. You can count them because they have names. You got this nutrient and that nutrient. That's 2 nutrients.
Not anything nameable is countable.
Well, in this case, it is.
Fine.
There are 2 people here, Levi and Brady.
Yes.
Nameable, countable. Wait, you never turned off the math thing.
That's because you yelled at me.
I'm sorry. Anyway. Like Levi said, the questions that deal with main ideas, leave them till the end of that section because they'll take the longest. In general, you'll have a better idea of what the main idea of the passage was after you do all the other questions from that section. And I'm not saying leave it till the end of the entire reading section, just leave it to the end of the 10 questions that pertain to that reading passage right there. Okay. Remember, in general, for the reading, you're looking for evidence, textual evidence to back up the answers that you want to pick. It is not read everything and then go to the questions and never look back at the passage. Just try to do it all from memory. That's not how it is. It's a very organic, holistic, synergetic process of going back and forth and saying, oh, they want to know about this point in time in the story. I'm going to go to that. I'm going to look around again. Oh, that's why Papa said this. It's because they were on the frontier and they needed to stop getting dysentery so often. And then you go back and, hey, that's an option right there. That's the answer. Okay? That is the general scoop on the reading section.
Should we move on?
I think so.
Also, did you answer Skur's question? Third one?
R4R?
No, Skur. Third to last.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, we got a couple questions here. Dual passages. That's a great question. With dual passages, as soon as you finish the first passage, you want to do the questions for that passage because it's fresh in your mind. And then you go to the second passage and you do those questions, and then at that point you've read both, so then you can do the questions that pertain to both of them. But still do the line numbers in that case, all right? Look first at the questions as fast as you can, find the line numbers they mention, and mark them with vertical lines next to them so that when you do the rest of it, you still have that ready to go in your pocket. Skur, we have not gone over the English yet. We will be doing that after science. We will now be going over science. So R4R says, how do you improve answering the science questions correctly the first time? I usually finish with very little time to check my answers, so I need to make sure I answer the question correctly the first time. I took a practice exam and missed 5 questions, which is really not a lot, but they were missed due to careless mistakes. As soon as I looked at the question again, I immediately knew the right answer. Any suggestions for this? That's a very good question. That have we done math already?
Yes, we've done all of it.
There's so much math. Are there particular things you want to ask about? There's plenty of math we could talk about.
Now is a good time to talk about our Discord. So if you want to post questions to us, and we can put them up on our overlay, put them in our Discord. Could Matthew or anybody else who is very helpful just link the Discord? Just do !Discord. It'll give you the link. Follow that. You can enter our Discord. Ask in the channel that's called Questions for Stream, and then we can pull your actual questions up.
Yes.
So
Okay.
we did reading. Now we're doing science, and
Yes,
then we're
we're doing
doing
science
English,
now.
and then we're doing math.
Yes.
That's like the whole test.
That's
though.
the whole test, exactly.
You
Once
can't
we do that,
prepare them
we'll be done.
entirely for the test.
Maybe.
Okay.
Okay, so R42R, whatever your question was, or whoever you are, your question was, how do you not make careless mistakes? That applies to the entire test.
Yes,
okay, number 1, if you're tired, you're going to make more of them. If you're hungry, you're going to make more of them.
Yeah.
Make sure to sleep a lot and eat a lot and drink a lot of water before
During
the
the
test. During the test. Be sleeping the entire time.
Yes, the entire
Okay. Number 2, closely read questions. So underlining things while you're reading them will make you less apt to get them confused. Is that the right way to say apt?
Huh?
Is that the right use of apt?
Few were apt.
Get out of here. Just leave and never come back. CF Jennings is here. Very good. Cousin CJ.
That's mein Bruder.
We love Cousin
Is that
CJ.
brother? I don't know.
I don't know that language. Even though my forefathers know that language. Knew that language.
You have 4 fathers?
I have 4 fathers.
That's a lot of fathers.
It's a lot of fathers. And
Too
I'm
many,
an
some
equal,
might say.
I'm an equal 25% of all of them.
It's too much masculine influence.
It's a lot of masculine influence.
So masculine.
Oh my gosh. That's why I'm so masculine.
Yeah, that's why we're both so masculine.
I'm so masculine because of all my fathers. They all gave me this watch.
Man.
Anyway, man. Okay, wait, what are we talking about? Okay, yes.
Oh, I have another thing. Sorry.
Oh, so another thing you should be able to do. is eliminating answers is very helpful, even if you do not know the right answer. If you can knock out one or two, man, I don't want a wet willy. I want a very dry willy. Use your other finger.
Willy?
Your other finger, dry willy.
Yes, dry
very
willy. That was
good.
awful.
That was great. That was very dry. So when you find that, that answer is definitely not right, put a little X through it, okay? It'll make it easier for you to not pick that later on because you've already eliminated it, because that's what elimination is. Other ways to avoid careless mistakes. When I took my ACT test the first time, I was happy with reading and English scores, but my greatest fear is the last part of the math section with 20 questions in the whole science. Yeah, the math section gets progressively more difficult, and it's also getting more difficult over time. Like the ACT test that we've looked at, as we've gotten closer and closer to the current present,
Yes.
they're adding harder and harder questions at the end.
Yes, and we've looked into the future, and the trend continues.
Until you get to 2022, and then for whatever reason, there's nothing after that.
Yes.
We're not really sure why.
It's just a bleak rainbow. There are multiple tests. There becomes this perfect competition of standardized tests, and everybody has to take like 15 tests.
I was going more for like an apocalyptic scenario.
Oh, that doesn't make any sense.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's never happened before, so what
Yeah.
would happen now?
Well, there are movies.
They're good. Do the research get more difficult? Because I took some and they were fairly easy. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. In general, the test is getting a little harder than the ones now. The reading and the math and the science have definitely gotten more difficult.
Yeah.
English and reading they've stayed pretty much the same, but math and science are definitely getting more difficult. One of the things about science that's getting more difficult is the previous science knowledge questions. There
Yes.
are more of them. Now, science is not asking about previous science knowledge for the most part. It's not asking about, hey, do you remember what you learned in biology and chemistry and physics? It is just reading graphs and charts and data and understanding experiments and things like that. Okay? So what you should not be doing is reading all of everything in the passages, because there's a lot of information, most of which you do not need to use. What you should be doing here is going straight to the questions, looking at them closely, and letting the wordage of the questions guide you where to look. Because a lot of times it's just looking at a graph, putting some piece of data in from the question, and finding the other piece of data that goes with it, such as number 1. According to figure 1,
Sorry. I didn't know it was on the page.
Sorry. According to figure 1, the mass of cheese remaining at 4 hours was closest to which of the following values? I have no idea what's going on now, or in general, but that doesn't matter. We know that we have to go to figure 1, because that's what they say. Figure 1, right here. We're looking at this. The mass of cheese remaining at 4 hours. Interesting. All right, let's analyze this graph real quick. X-axis, we have time in hours. We know we're using 4 hours, so we're going to go to that 4 slot. If you look at the y-axis, we have massive food remaining in milligrams on both of the y-axes. So we're clearly looking for a y value here. And it's asking the mass of cheese remaining. If you look at our key, we have 4 different foods. Cheese is the white box. So we want to look at the white bar. So now we just look at 4 hours, we look at cheese, and it looks like it's around 180, a little bit above 180. And sure enough, there's an answer that's 185, okay? So still, there is nothing I had to figure out about this passage based off of question number 1, okay? Oh, I see what you're doing. Okay, that's very good. Okay, so science is all like that, except for one passage, and then, of course, the outside science questions. So here's what you need to know. The science passages, there are usually 6 of them, and 5 of them are pretty similar, except for one, which I have pulled up right here. Now, let me show you the other ones real quick. They all have data, maybe some diagrams of what's going on, then they got a bunch of questions, data, graphs, charts, all that stuff, okay? This one up here is a little different. And actually, this one's unique because they generally don't have data. This one does, but just bear with me. This is called the conflicting viewpoints question. If you look at the blurbs here, we have student 1, we got student 2, student 3, student 4, and what they're doing is they're giving hypotheses for some. Why can't the students just agree? Yeah, I know. I wish they would. They all say, yeah, I agree with student 1. Yeah, I agree with student 1 and 2. That'd be great. Sometimes it also says scientist. Scientist 1, scientist 2, all that stuff. They're giving different hypotheses for some phenomenon that's happening here. Do you have a good master list for science pre-knowledge topics? We're going to talk about that in just a second. Just a second. So that's a very good question, and do not worry, we're going to get to those, okay? This passage here, you want to do last. It takes the most time. I repeat, leave the conflicting viewpoints passage until the end. The questions will take you longer, and if you're not going to finish, we want you to leave the longer taking questions until the end, okay? The way that I recommend doing this, read the intro blurb to see what's going on. Don't do that in the other passages. You don't need to unless you have to. That's one thing I didn't mention. We'll get to that in a sec. Read this intro blurb and then read the topic sentence of each of the students' passages, because the topic sentences are usually, bam, the key idea that that student believes in, okay? Once you read the topic sentences, go to the questions. You will need to read a little bit more into some of these paragraphs, but let the questions guide you when you need to do that, because some of these are answerable just by knowing the key differences between what the students or scientists are saying. Okay, so back to this for a sec. You will not be able to get all these questions just by looking at the charts and graphs. Some of these questions will have vocab words that you don't know, but don't worry, they're not counting on you to know these vocab words. They'll have them up here in the passage somewhere. So if there's like a word that you need to know, the question depends on you knowing that word and what it means in order to understand what it's asking. Chances are it's up here. There will be times where you have to go up here just to find some piece of information. The point is, don't look through all this at the beginning. Let those questions tell you when you need to search for some other piece of information, but your first instinct should always be, let's look at the charts and graphs and see if the answer can be found somewhere there. Okay? Great. Previous science knowledge questions. That's what we're going to talk about right now. So, here we go. Levi, do you first want to talk about what you just wrote?
No, I'll talk about that later.
Well,
I mean, I guess I should.
It takes a second. King does Blender.
You shared with us something very personal that you feel pretty confident now, which is great. But then you compared it to the first time that you took the ACT. And you did that wrong. So,
In two different ways.
yeah, a couple different ways. So, this, when you're making a comparison, is not the right one. It should be then. Very good, Deep Blue. Then is a comparator. Then is with chronology.
Time.
Okay? Time. Marches on for us all. Right, Bird?
And so we be done. Boats born against the current, going ceaselessly into the past. Right.
Yeah.
Born ceaselessly into the past?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who?
Born ceaselessly. He's a friend of mine.
Right.
Well, actually, my four dads introduced me to Born Ceaselessly. Yeah.
That's stupid.
He was dad number 3's
So-
best friend in college.
You feel pretty. I feel pretty confident now. That's awesome. Then, great. But to have a comparison, there needs to be a comparison.
Oh, there's
Right.
another correction, King does Blender.
We're not done with
We
you.
are not
We
done
are
with
not
you.
done. You are
You
not finished.
sit
being
down.
sit.
If you're not sitting, if you're standing watching this, interesting. You're
Well,
probably
no. Probably have great posture.
yeah, but sit down at least
Yes,
for this.
and then start slouching.
Yeah.
It's important. Okay, I feel pretty confident now. That's its own thing. That's great.
Great.
You could say I feel pretty confident now compared to how I felt when I first took the ACT, but you didn't say that.
You didn't.
We thought you would. Okay. You would need to say I feel more confident now than, and then compare it to the last time. But that's still not good enough. So I feel, let's say, that's just a fish. More. I feel more confident now than the first time I took the ACT. This is also wrong.
Yep.
Because you are comparing the way you feel to the first time you took the test.
Two different things.
Those are two different things.
That's a feeling with a event.
With an event, the first time. So, this needs to be, I feel more confident now than I did the first time I took the ACT. Or,
That's pretty good.
that's basically the only thing I would do here. I can give you
I felt.
Yes. Yeah. I'll give you another example that's a little bit simpler than this. So if we say, I like brownies more than...
Muffins.
No.
Okay.
Her. This is a problem. Or, well, it depends on what you're trying to say. If you're trying to say you like brownies this much and she likes brownies this much, so you like them more, that's not what you've said here. First of all, her is an object. It's not a subject. So what you're comparing, you have more than, right? You're comparing how much you like brownies. I like brownies more than And then it would need to be she. She is what you want here. That's a subject, and that should be the comparison. I like brownies more than she. If that sounds wrong to you, I'm sorry. That's actually correct. Or
Yeah.
I like brownies more than she does. If you say I like brownies more than her, you like brownies this much and you like her this much.
You'd rather eat brownies than hang out with her.
Yes.
So, King, we've ripped you to shreds. Now we're going to rebuild you
We're going
into
to build you up.
a bigger and better king.
Yes. Yes. We're going
I
to
will agree with
suture you
that.
together along the lines of the ACT.
Yes, and that is
Do
all.
we have
you-
more? Outside knowledge. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was
Okay.
going to do. All right, we're talking outside knowledge. There's some of it. There's not a lot. So if it's I put she instead of her, I don't understand.
Where's your punctuation, Skr?
So if it's I put she instead of her, I don't understand. Is the it supposed to be there? So if I put she, therefore I don't understand.
The issue here is that when you're comparing things, you have to take the one that's over here. The second thing that's the comparison doesn't have more sentence to go with it, right? So that needs to be compared to the same part of speech as what's before it. The part of speech that her is an object. Brownies in this case is an object. So what you've done here is compare her to brownies.
Do you know what a subject versus an object is? Because if you're just thinking an object is like a solid item, that's not what we mean by object.
And it's also never been true.
Also, Levi, have you ever seen a question that has that on the ACT?
What?
That kind of a comparison? I've never seen it get that difficult.
Not recently, no.
That kind of thing does come up in the SAT.
Yeah, much more common on the SAT,
Yeah.
for sure.
If this doesn't totally make sense, this will probably not be on the ACT, so don't worry that much. But either way, Skr sees it, so that's good. Okay, outside science knowledge, stuff that you need to know. Here we go. You open the door, you walk outside. That's the outside knowledge. It's all right there. You got a library card? That's your key to the world, except now we have the internet, so you really don't need that. I guess we always had the internet when we were growing up, but it just was like in its infancy. It was like
Yeah.
not that cool yet.
I remember bouncing the internet on my knee, actually.
Really?
Yep. Anyway.
First thing, Celsius temperature. We do not use Fahrenheit in science because it is a very inefficient and crappy system. You want to know why? What's the freezing point of water? You guys should know this. In our system in America, when does snow start forming? When does ice start forming? What's the freezing point of water? Most of you should know this, okay?
3, my lord.
No, not 3. What is the boiling point of water? Now, hold on. R4R. I asked about Fahrenheit first. I know this says Celsius, then I said freezing point, so you're excused. Okay, yes. Thank you, R4R. You took the wind out of my sails there. Fahrenheit, it's 32 and 212. Who made those numbers up? It's terrible. I actually have not looked into where the Fahrenheit system comes from, but Celsius makes a lot more sense because 0 degrees is freezing point of water in Celsius, and then 100 is the boiling point. They built a system off of that. Water is incredibly crucial in our world and in our lives, so let's base off our temperature scale off the behavior of water. I think that's a good idea. So that's Celsius. If you're between 0 and 100, you've got liquid water. If you're above 100, it is gas. If it's below 0, it is freezing. Yes.
Ring Matthews said that before, and it just didn't go through.
Okay, so we got that. Oh, does it think it's like a swear or something?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting, Ring Matthews. Yeah, it's up.
Watch
We had
your
to,
mouth, Ring Matthews.
we had to approve that. Yes. The thing is, boiling point of Fahrenheit is 212, which is like, why would anyone know that? It doesn't happen in our lives. It only gets to 212 if we're boiling something, which some people do, but they don't even see what temperature it is while they're boiling it. They just turn on the gas and then let the thing boil. Anyway, that's the Celsius temperature scale. Next thing.
Should I erase this or no?
I
I guess it's good, right?
if you want to.
Okay.
The next thing is the pH scale. You must know the pH scale. The pH scale measures acidity and, I guess, basicness. Don't worry about what acidity actually is, how acidic something is. It's a chemistry thing. What you need to know is the pH scale. The pH scale goes from 0 to 14. These arrows here I put at the end are kind of a misnomer, so I will just sort of take them out. pH scale goes from 0 to 14. Right in the middle is predictably 7. Now 7, yes.
It's Fred Triangle.
That's not Fred Triangle.
It's Fred Triangle.
Get off my screen.
Yes, my lord.
Okay. So 7 is neutral. It is not an acid or a base. And the liquid that we all know and love that is neutral is water. Water without anything in it, which is called distilled water, which you rarely come into contact with, is neutral. Most of the water you come in contact with has nutrients in it, multiple nutrients that you can count. It's got minerals in it, things like that make it able to be acidic or basic. Okay. The side that's acidic and the side that's basic, that's what you have to know here. 0 to 7, that is acidic. Those are acids. 7 to 14, those are bases. The closer you get to the far out edges, the more extreme your acidity or basicity is. That's not even a word. The closer you are to 14, the more basic it is. The closer you are to 0, the more acidic you are. The way that I remember this, A comes before B in the alphabet. So the numbers that are earlier, they correspond with A acids. The numbers that are later correspond with B bases. I guess that's not really the way that I remember it. I just know it now. But that's the way that I teach it, and that's the way that you're going to remember it. Was that a little too much?
No, I think that was appropriately.
It was
demeaning.
honest.
I think it was demeaning and appropriately so.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's what I try to be. Demeaning and appropriately so. All right. That is the pH scale.
You need to know some parts of the cell. So,
Oh, that's what that is.
yeah, it's a cell. And then I thought it might look like Fred Triangle
Yeah, definitely not Fred
on
Triangle.
a bad day or something.
There's a couple other things we're going to talk about.
So, cell stuff. They have nuclei. Wait, no.
Yes.
Atoms have nuclei.
No, so do cells.
Yeah, they both have cells.
No.
And so now you know all about that.
That's what you're going to tell them? Oh, that's helpful.
Yeah, okay, so mitochondria, powerhouse of the cell. If you're on Reddit, you know that. And then we have proteins, we have...
You're shooting off terms here? That's
No, I
great.
mean, like, you don't...
Well, those are your three things. You have the nucleus, proteins, and mitochondria. And then you're pretty much good.
Yeah.
They might ask you one question about one of the parts of a cell.
You need to know osmosis. You need to know photosynthesis. No, I'm being serious. Like, these things you actually need to understand.
Okay.
I don't have any other scales for them.
I have some things for
Do you have another scale?
A scale? Not like one of these.
Okay, that's what I was asking about.
No. I have other things, though.
Yeah.
Metric prefixes. Let's talk about these. All right? You have some base units. For length, your base unit is a meter. For mass, your base unit is a gram. It's actually a kilogram, but that's a different story. Just call it a gram for right now. Okay? If you want to use units that are larger, let's say we're measuring the distance from the Earth to the Sun. We don't want to use meters. This is a meter right here. That's not going to help. We want much larger units. So we have metric prefixes that are based on powers of 10. So the first one, kilo, which creates a kilometer, or a kilometer, as we are wont to call it, and a kilogram, or a kilogram, as we call it. Kilo is times 1,000. There are 1,000 meters in a kilometer. There are 1,000 grams in a kilogram. That's what kilo means, okay? There's two other ones that you're going to see come up a lot. There is, I'm going to use a different color, centi. And centi is 1 over 100, all right? So we have centimeters. A meter divided by 100 gives you a centimeter. So there are 100 centimeters in a meter. I've seen a question that involves describing the cell structure of amoeba. Bonelespatat, it would actually be of an amoeba, because amoeba starts with a vowel, and so you want to make your indefinite article an rather than just a. A amoeba sounds awkward.
I think it's amoeba.
It's just a amoeba?
Yeah.
Get off my screen.
I'm not on your screen, my
My
lord.
lord. Very good. Very good. Okay. Centi, you really only see applied to centimeters. Okay. The last one is applied to both meters and grams, which is milli. You got milli here. Think about milli as like a fun girl to hang out with in the 20s. What areas are affected by the hurricane? We're talking about the one in the Gulf of Mexico right now? Because I don't think that will be on the ACT. Milli. Milli is 1 over 1,000. It's a thousandth. If you take a meter and divide it into thousandths, you'll get millimeters. There are 1,000 millimeters in a meter, and then we have milligrams. There are 1,000. Like, is the ACT canceled? Ah, that is why your question makes sense.
Some of them are.
Some of them are.
Yeah.
We don't know which ones are. I'm guessing you could find that information
One
on
of
the
my
ACT
showmates told
website.
me that hers is canceled.
Where does she live?
Chicago.
Bella?
Mm-hmm.
It's canceled in Chicago?
That's what she said.
The hurricane isn't even in Chicago.
Well, it called in.
Wait, you're kidding.
No, she texted me. She said it's canceled. Hers is canceled.
Because of weather?
I don't know. She hasn't come back to me.
Well, yeah. See,
But I think the ACT called.
get out of here. Just get out of here. Milligrams. All right, take a gram, divide it into thousands. You get a milligram. There's 1,000 milligrams in a gram. Okay. Metric prefixes: dunzo, garbanzo beans. All right, we're gonna get rid of that now. There's a couple other things. There's two other things that we're going to talk about, and then we will go to English, which we've been preparing you for this entire time because we speak in English. Okay. A, I'm from Jackson, Mississippi. Jackson, Mississippi, the deep blue. That's not really true. It's quite red, but deep blue is from Jackson, Mississippi. You thought that was that funny?
Yes, I thought that was very funny.
Oh, God. Yeah, we're getting real political right now. Talking about blue states and... oh, okay. Deep blue is now in North Carolina. Got it. But I'm from there originally. Oh, Levi, get up here. Get up here right now. Look at what Deep Blue just wrote. Deep Blue corrected his or herself, but look at that third message from the bottom.
I moved, but I'm from there originally. There. Oh, very nice. Plucky, okay. Did Plucky ask you a question earlier?
I don't know. Did Plucky ask you a question?
Yes.
So, Deep Blue changed the there from the plural possessive, as in they lost their minds, to what it should be, which is there as a location. There's one more there, which is a contraction for they are. They apostrophe re. That is the third there, giving you three theres. You guys have the best and...
Stop.
Well, hold on. You gonna fix that or what?
Okay, so here's the deal with this.
Sit
you know
down,
when
King.
sit down, King. You know when you're a horse and you're a gift to someone and someone looks you straight in the mouth? That's what we're about to do. Thank you. Very good.
Very good.
Yeah, or you could say you guys are better and funnier than the last time you took the ACT. You could also say that.
You could also say that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are we doing English now?
Real quick.
Did you talk about unicellular and multicellular and how they're actually the same thing?
That's not true at all.
Oh.
And no, I've not talked about that. Okay.
You need a new marker.
You need a new marker.
You need to be righty.
That's not true at all. Take this. Take this. I'm from there too. All right, we're done with you, NTH.
All right, NT.
We're literally done with you. Here is one of the other things you have to know. You have to understand. In an experiment, there are two variables that are being manipulated. There is the independent variable, and there is the dependent variable. Okay? When you are a scientist, you're trying to figure out if something has an effect on something else. So if you change something, will this other thing change as well? You want to find the relationship between them. Okay? I feel like we should spend more money on just like getting fresh markers all the time. Is that like a bad thing to do? Hey, we got some bits.
Bits.
I'm kind of hungry. Can I eat?
Yeah. Can I have some too, though?
I'll take two. You take one. Thank you. We eat bits. Okay. Here's a very simple experiment. Let's say that we're going to.
That was so dumb.
I know. Let's say that we want to see what cardio has, what effect cardio has on your resting heart rate. Because very, very high level power athletes that run a lot have very, very low heart rates because their hearts are very efficient at pumping blood. Okay. So let's say you put a couple athletes on a couple different programs. Okay. And you say we're going to have athlete 1 is going to run every day for 30 minutes. Athlete 2 is going to run every day for 60 minutes. And then athlete 3 is going to run every day for 90 minutes. And then at the end of a month, we're going to see what their resting heart rate is.
Are those
Okay?
dog minutes or people minutes?
You're a dog minute.
Bird.
Okay? So here's what the graph might look like. Okay. I'm just making this up, but maybe there's something to this. Okay. Maybe this is 50, 52, and 57. Okay. The thing that the scientists are manipulating is the cardio time. That is the independent variable. All right, what scientists are changing themselves is the independent variable. The thing that they're measuring is the dependent variable. Okay, here is the heart rate, the resting heart rate. Here we go. I'll just write this out. Okay, the resting heart rate. So typically when you see an independent variable, there'll be very, very nice numbers. 30, 60, and 90. They chose those numbers because they're nice to work with. The dependent variable, because you can't predict what it's going to be, you just have to measure it, is going to be weird random numbers, 50, 52, and 57. Okay? The dependent variable depends upon the independent variable. You never want to test multiple independent variables at one time, like maybe we also screwed around with their diets. All right? Then we're going to get information that doesn't tell us exactly what the one relationship is between cardio and resting heart rate and what the one relationship is between diet and resting heart rate. We just did both at the same time, which is going to give us confusing data. You only want to change one thing at a time to see the effect that that thing has on the dependent variable. Okay? That's the difference between those two variables. And then there's the control group. The control group is the group that you don't do anything to. So maybe we have athletes that we have them not running at all. We just say, hey, keep not doing anything. They're the 0-minute group. So we find out what happens if you just have no cardio. And that turns out people start at 63. All right? The control group is the one that you do not do anything to the independent variable.
Also, don't compare yourself to these actual numbers. This is a very low, all of these are pretty low resting heart rates.
These are elite power athletes.
Yes.
But then again, I just made these numbers up, okay?
Hey, King Doze Blender. Actually, it should be a purple heart, and then a red heart, and then a purple heart, grammatically.
Yeah.
But,
Last thing we're going to talk about here is percent change. This also helps out for math. If you have a bicycle that you buy, Cardi B.
Cardio B.
Oh, kids love that.
Yeah.
If you have a bicycle that you buy for, I don't know, $76, all right, give it a couple years. The price is now, maybe it's a collector's item. It's gotten more valuable.
Is that dog dollars?
Dog dollars.
Is it dog dollars?
Yes, if it's dog dollars. No, it's not dog dollars. Bona Lesbot. Not exactly. The control group is when the independent variable is not changed at all. Okay? So it does kind of look like it's 0. What?
Boneless spot is probably not how you pronounce that name. I think it's boneless potato, which is also funny, but it's
Bona Lesbot. I'm gonna stick with that. Here's something else you could think about. Boneless potato. I'm gonna keep with Bona Lesbot. Another experiment which would have a control group is maybe you're taking water from the lake and you're seeing I don't know how many bugs are just hanging out on the top of the lake, and you got a couple different patches, and you decide to drip some like human blood on the top of these things. Maybe you're dripping human blood on one part, you're dripping green slime from Nickelodeon a long time ago on another part, and then you're taking gasoline and putting it on another patch of the lake. Don't do this, but you're seeing how many bugs just sort of chill out on each of those patches. The one that you didn't affect, that you just left as normal lake water, that's the control group. So in that case, 0 isn't exactly the best way to think about it. It's more the one that you just leave alone and see what happens under normal circumstances. Okay. Percent change. Your bicycle has gone from $76, now it's $83. Fantastic. The question is, by what percent did it increase? Okay? Here's the way that you find percent change. New minus old over old. Okay? New minus old. This is just asking, by what number did it increase or decrease? This is the numerical change. So new minus old, 83 minus 76. And then our old value, our starting value, is 76. Okay? 83 minus 76 is going to be 7. We divide that by our starting value, 7 over 76. Levi, can you do that?
7 over 76?
Yep.
No, can you? It's about 1/11th, right?
It's about 1/11th, true, so it's going to be like 0.9.
0.921.
So I call that a rational number. And irrational.
0.092, which is
No, it's a rational number.
so it's it's 9%.
92%. 9%.
9%. Okay, this thing has gone up by 9.2%. That is percent change right there.
Is that dog percent, my lord?
What is with all these dog units? As far as I know, dog years is what you're referring to, but you're applying it to all these other things. Yeah. Great. Great. All right, that's percent change. If it gets smaller, new minus old will give you a negative number. You're going down by 9.2%, something like that, okay? Excellent. Woo! All right, you guys are ready for science? Well, maybe you're not, but this will at least help you. Do a practice section. Time yourself. Do what we said. Leave the conflicting viewpoints till the end. Go straight to the questions. See how well you do. The more you do these, the easier and more accustomed to the kinds of questions that you'll see you will become. Now, Levi will talk about English.
Yeah, I actually just noticed we have the most viewers on Twitch of any Twitch streamer at the moment.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Wow.
Nobody else has more than 13, 14 viewers.
So that's why our channel is really high right now.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yep. It's a big deal.
So cool.
Okay, so also, for those of you who have just kind of signed on or aren't doing anything helpful right now, ask questions. Like, obviously, us talking about these things generally is good, but it's also
great.
good to employ these things and watch that stuff happen. So if you have any question or questions that you've been working on that you're not sure about or want us to work through on here, post them in the Discord. You can just put in pictures or PDFs or whatever, and we can put them on an overlay, and you can see them up on the big screen, and you'll be super famous among the baker's dozen-ish of you that are here. But we also really appreciate it too, because otherwise we're just kind of lecturing about this, which is boring for us. And it's all about us. So remember that. Okay, English stuff. What do you want to know? I mean, we can talk about, is it 7:30 also? It is 7:30. We're going until 8:30 because it's a cram session, Ring Matthews. Because we're not streaming tomorrow before the test. Ow.
You okay?
Yes, my hips are tight. Okay, so we can talk about independent clauses. We can talk about semicolons, colons, dashes, commas, apostrophes. We can talk about commonly mistaken. We can do some of the more esoteric things. I asked the question. Oh, you did. Thank you, gentlemen. I've seen you before. How are you? You asked a question in the Discord. I doubt it. Where did you? Oh, in the English? Please go over apostrophes. Pigs, pigs, pigs. Yes. Very good. Plays for days. Thank you for the follow. We appreciate that. Okay, so apostrophes. Yeah, that looks fine, right? Yeah. Okay. So there are two types of apostrophes that we care about. Contractions. These are the easy ones. There aren't really rules to it that are worth talking about. It's just when you put two words together. So this is it's. That means it is. Or you have couldn't, wouldn't, shouldn't, didn't, haven't, mustn't. I don't know others. There are more. Whose. This is another big one. This one means who is. So that's contractions. Those are pretty straightforward. Let me know if you have any questions on that. The apostrophes that show ownership are way harder. That's where the challenge is. It can also be it has, right? Yes, given context, it could be it has. Yeah. I've never seen a question using it's as it has on the ACT or SAT and actually testing you on that idea. But yes, you are right. Okay, so that's contractions. Then we also have ownership. This is the tough one because there are lots of things going on here. I'm going to do this in yellow. So, Jutman, you said pigs, pigs, pigs. Pigs, pigs, and pigs. With no apostrophe, there can be no ownership with normal nouns. Just so you know, the word its, that is ownership. Also the word whose, that is ownership. These are actually the exceptions, which is a little bit annoying.
Whose.
Sorry?
Whose.
Whose?
It's pronounced whose.
Oh, it's okay, Brady. Yeah, I completely get contractions. It's the ownership, and I'm still a little stuck on that stuff. I'm still a little stuck on. Cool. So ownership stuff. Beyond these two, ownership will need apostrophes. So I assume you know this, but this is just plural, right? That's all it is. I'll do blue, I guess. This is just plural. It's just, you know, the pigs are in the garden, or happier than pigs and whatever pigs are in. Couldn't tell you.
You know what pigs are in.
Bird! Don't. Bird.
What?
Go.
Oh.
Okay. Now here. This is where it gets a little bit hairier.
Harry.
Hairy.
Hair word.
Okay. Thank you,
Will you
Bird.
teach?
Yes, I'm trying to. You have apostrophe S, and then you just have apostrophe. Those are your only options for adding things to words, okay? So this is the rule. You just add apostrophe S to the end of some word. So if we have bug, or we have Levi, or we have Jutman, or we have rag, or we have microphone. Ooh. Honestly, didn't know how to spell microphone. You add an apostrophe S, 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 you add an apostrophe S. Feet. You add an apostrophe S.
You get something that ends with S already.
Yes.
Like a singular.
So,
Bus.
or let's say,
Bus.
bus. You add an apostrophe S. Jess. If your name is Jess, or someone else's name is Jess.
Women.
Women.
Women's room.
All of these, you just add an apostrophe S. That's the rule. Okay? Now, when is it not the rule? Is there a super score for the ACT? Yes.
Some schools.
This depends on the school. So schools you are interested in attending, look at what they say. Just Google the school's name and then super score, and I assume it will be one of the first couple of links.
Google.
Google. Very good, Bert. So the exception to the rule, you need to satisfy two things. One, it has to be plural, and it has to end in S, or end with S. It doesn't end in the S, ends with it. Ends with an S already. So, women, that is plural, but it doesn't end with S. So we just do the normal thing. The exceptions to the rule.
So I have to call my grandfather. Should I do it on the stream?
Ideally, yeah. Let me just
Okay,
finish this
yeah.
and we can talk to your granddad.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So here, it could be something like dogs. There are multiple dogs. So let's say, there are 7 dogs. And those 7 dogs have teeth. Yeah? So you have teeth here, and the dogs own the teeth. We just add an apostrophe. Thank you for the tip of $1. Oh my gosh. It's the most money we've made all night. That's awesome. No, we got $1 tip, just straight up tip.
Oh my god.
It's very exciting. Thank you, Plays for Days. Okay, I don't know if anybody else sees that. Don't know what you're talking about, Jutman. So 7 dogs' teeth. There you go. Just an apostrophe. If you do an apostrophe before the S, then it would be a single dog having multiple teeth, which is also fine. You just need to figure out what you're actually trying to say. And that comes from the context of the passage, and they will give you enough context. Now, so you will never see this. That will never happen. The dog's teeth doesn't work. Now notice, we have buses here, but that means there's a single bus. To have multiple buses, oh my gosh, I don't know how to spell buses. Is it S-S-E-S, Bird?
No, S-E-S.
Is it?
Yeah.
Isn't it buses then?
No.
I don't know. I never rode the buses.
Just write it.
Okay. Are you sure? Not trying to be dumb. I just am apparently about this. So if we have buses, I don't like that.
That's what it is.
That's what it
I
is.
just, don't worry. It's what it is.
Yeah.
All right. Fine. just an apostrophe, Bus's teeth. Okay? So, just an apostrophe on the end, but you have to satisfy these two exceptions. If you have both of these, then you get to not do this rule of apostrophe S. You get to do this. That's much closer. Annie.
Anyone?
Wait, never mind. Oh, LOL. What? Okay.
No, this is math.
Yeah, this is math. 7 dogs' teeth. Bus's teeth. Jess's teeth. Notice, you're never going to say dogs', right? That sounds bad, or at least it sounds dumb. I think it sounds funny, but it's also dumb. So here, this would be 1 pig. There is 1 pig here. There are greater than or equal to 2 pigs here. And they have hooves or something. Do pigs have hooves?
Hooves.
Hoven.
Y'all, I've been studying for 4 hours straight. My mind is not okay. You know what's about to happen? You gotta study for a couple more hours because you're gonna break through to the other side and your mind's gonna be fine.
Yep.
That's what you're doing wrong right now. So just keep studying and then you're gonna be fine.
A lot of people and tutors and well-informed, experienced individuals say sleep the night before the test. That's ridiculous.
Do not sleep. Whatever you
Don't do
do
that.
not sleep because when you sleep, your mind completely shuts down.
Yeah.
No sleeping. Stop eating about a week before if you can.
Yeah.
About 24 hours before, stop drinking.
Yes, and
then
if you haven't already done that, purge now.
Yeah, that morning, stop breathing.
Yes.
You should be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I need to call my grandfather, and I'm going to call him on stream because generally they're very funny calls. I will put him on speakerphone.
It's interesting how frustrated Brady gets with this lovely old man. So I shouldn't even be alive, right? Yeah.
I thought you were being serious for a second. Nah, Levi and I try not to be serious. Here we go.
2 pig. 1 fish, 2 fish. 1 fish, 2 pig. Red fish.
Hello?
Hi, Grandma. Can I talk to Grandpa?
Don't yell.
Yes, you can. Just a minute.
Thank you.
Brady.
I'm gonna erase this.
Hello?
Hey, Grandpa, it's Brady.
Okay, let me go over to the desk.
What? Well, Grandpa, I can't do it today. I have to do it tomorrow.
Wait, I can't, so you gotta make it lower. I can't hear it. I can't hear it. Wait. You gotta make it that lower. Cut it off for a minute.
Also, just so everybody knows, we're sponsored by Grandpa. Grandpa's everywhere.
It's what's for breakfast. Hey, Grandpa? Hey, I have to do it tomorrow. I can't do it today.
Oh, okay.
Ask him about the regular verbs.
All right, I'll see you tomorrow.
Nope. Do you want to go in the evening or you want to go during the day?
I will call you around 6:30.
What time?
Around 6:30.
6:30. Okay.
All right.
Okay, we wait for you. It's what's tomorrow? Tomorrow's Friday. I think Ricky will be here then.
Okay.
He's coming Friday, but he'll be here Saturday.
Okay.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow about 6:30 then.
Okay, sounds good.
Take care.
All right, you too.
Wait a
Bye.
minute.
Nope.
Let's hello to Grandma. Brady.
Hey, Grandma.
Hi, it's nice to talk to you. Everything okay?
Everything is good. How are you?
Okay, you making money?
I'm trying to. I'm trying so hard.
Okay, sweetheart.
All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, bye.
That's so embarrassing, dude.
Why?
Everybody heard.
That's not true.
What is the best way to...
You making money? The answer, Grandma, is currently no. We made $1 a couple minutes ago, which Levi and I are going to split right down the middle. So each of us can buy 2
And then we're gonna pay
gumballs.
corporate tax on it.
Oh, very good. You know,
Oh,
I don't
gosh.
usually call her and say, Grandma, I want to speak to Grandpa. I usually say, hey, how are you, and all that stuff, but I got excited because I was on the stream.
Yeah, you were trying to show off to your friends.
Yeah, all of my friends. About my
Okay.
sweet grandparents who have been married for 75 years. Think about that for a second.
Dog years, my lord.
Dog years, my lord.
Maybe you should, maybe we could do a circle problem after this?
Yeah.
What do you think?
What's wrong
Maybe we
with
should
you?
go off screen. Maybe we could do a circle problem in a little bit. What do you? Get ready for a circle problem.
Okay.
All right. Right into self-confidence. That's right. Okay. So he ran. He has run. He had run. That type of thing. Okay. Brady.
Yes.
What is the present of he run or to run? And he does this thing.
He runs.
Thank you for the follow, by the way. I'm gonna do it in yellow. He runs. Good. What's the past tense?
I ran.
No.
Sorry, he ran.
He ran. Very good. What's the future tense?
He will run.
He will run. Is there anything else?
Of course.
Whoa, Judman just tipped another $1. We're gonna tell Brady's grandma.
Oh, I should call her up.
Yeah, call her right now.
No.
What's the future? He will run.
He will run.
That's the whole future. There's nothing else there. He will be running.
No, that's future progressive.
That's future progressive. I'm sorry. Don't worry about that. But the other thing, Bird, what about he has run?
Oh, you're starting to talk about perfect tense.
Oh my gosh. Could that be the past perfect?
He has run would be present perfect.
Okay.
He
So,
had run was past perfect.
past perfect. I call this the extra past because it's like past of the past, and that makes more sense in my head. And if it confuses you, too bad. He has run. Okay? No, I lied. He had run. Dang it. Are you ready, by the way, or no?
Sec.
Okay, that's fine. No pressure. I'm not ready yet, so I'm just wondering where you're at. He will have run. He will have run. Perfect tenses always use run in this case. For those of you who are non-native English speakers, this is a doozy. You're cooked. But for everybody else, less so. It's an idiomatic thing. Try to think about, is there something different than just the past, present, or future? If it's a perfect one, he had run. The present perfect, it would be he has run. And the future perfect would be he will have run. All of these are very fun. Obviously, the most important ones to know are he ran, he runs, he will run. This one is also pretty big. Okay? This is called the past perfect. It happens before the past. So, I had finished my homework when my friend arrived. So, when my friend arrived, that's past tense, right? My friend arrived. But I had finished my homework. I had finished. That is past perfect. I had finished. He had run. He had run before he arrived. Something like that. Does anybody have any follow-up questions on this? I can give more examples. Maybe throw some examples in the chat. Just throw them there, see what sticks. They'll probably all stick, unless you put a curse word in it. And then it won't. Seems like everybody's fine. Or we crashed or something. So something that happens before something else. Yeah, I mean, this is the chronology of things. So he runs, he will run after he stands up or something, right? But yeah, so this happens before the future, this happens before the present, this happens before the past. So I had already run when I fell. For past perfect, I mean. Yeah, so it is the past of the past. So yes, it happens before something else. In the context of whatever passage you're reading, yes, it would have to happen before something else, and they would give you the context for that. Does that make you happy, Plays for Days? Probably does.
You know what would make me happy?
What would make you happy?
If I could marry the princess and take control of the kingdom by killing the king. For I am Circumference, and I'm here to figure out circle things. And also get married to the princess. Princess Diameter, who is the prettiest princess in all of the land. Shing. This is my sword.
And that's your sheath.
And that is my chef. I will sheath my sword in my sheath.
Should we talk about slope?
We could talk about schlope, but I'm more interested in shirkles.
You're shirking your duties to Princess Diameter?
I would never dream of such a thing. Perhaps circle ratios. Or perhaps graphing circles.
How do you guys feel about graphing circles? What circle things do you... Ooh, circle sector things? That's not super common on the ACT.
It happens.
It happens.
It happens on the ACT a lot.
All right, I think everybody's stunned into silence by the stupidity of this, but that's cool.
Stunned into silence by my sword? They're stunned by fear. I will sheath it for now.
It has been shoothen. Oh my gosh.
Construct a cube twice the size of another cube using just a ruler and a compass. Why don't you do that, smurfing? We don't have a ruler and a compass. Twice the size, would that mean twice the volume? Or would that mean all of the lengths are doubled? Which would result in a cubing to the 8th. You'd have a volume that's 8 times larger. Double the volume. Very interesting.
Double.
Double.
Let's do
A riddle.
Riddler.
Would you like a riddle? Would you like a riddle?
Yes, I'd like a riddle.
Very good. As such, here begins the riddle. You find yourself in a room with no windows and no doors. You're not sure how you got there. All you have in the room is a mirror, a table, and a saw. Wait. No. Just a mirror and a table. How do you get out? Thank you for following. All you have is a mirror and a table in this room with no windows and no doors. How do you get out?
Stuffio, yes you can. Or Stuffio1. Or yes. Put a question in the queue and we'll do it. Whatever Brady's saying is not nearly as important.
That's not true. This might happen to you someday. It's quite easy. There's only a mirror and a table. There's no door. There's no... Oh, Stuffio, if you just signed on, we were just talking about that. Asking about past participles.
That's past part. We did that a couple 15 minutes ago.
Yes.
Yeah, Ring Matthews, you want the robot to answer question that you turn sideways? Because we can do that one for sure. Can you explain the difference between combinations and permutations?
Yes.
I just left.
Now,
Stuffio.
first,
Yeah, just go back.
if you're in this room with a table and a mirror and you need to get out, this is one of my father's worst riddles. You look in the mirror.
Oh, you take what you saw.
No. You see what you saw. You
Yeah.
take the saw. You cut the table in half. 2 halves make a hole, and then you crawl through the hole, and you're out.
Wouldn't you be crawling through the hole in a table?
No. 2 halves make a hole, so you crawl through the hole, and then you're out.
Oh!
Ah! Shing. No, I'm sorry. Shing.
Schloop.
Floop. The old shing and shloop. Very good. All right. So what's first? Shall
I think
we talk?
maybe we're just not doing this.
Well, I am circumference, and right now there's a bullseye on my eye. You get it?
I get it.
Shing. Thank you for the sound effects, Deep Blue. We will now talk about combinations and permutations.
Wait,
Now,
was that before?
Okay, wait. May put a common coma mistakes. Common coma mistakes. Number 1,
Yes.
don't pull the plug. That
Dude.
is a common coma mistake.
That's so stupid.
Oh, very
Who
good.
knows if anybody else appreciated that?
Oh, jeez. Yes. Oh, Ski actually fixed it, comma. Never mind. Common comma mistakes. Well, I think your question is, how exactly do we use commas and how do we not use commas?
Which one was first of these? handful of questions.
There was commas, and then begun, began, begin. But I think stuff, we already did
stuff
that.
was going to go.
Ring Matthews would like us to do Robot Dancer's question. The panda eats, shoots, and leaves. You bet. Garden path sentences. That's our
Garden
favorite.
path sentences.
Yes.
One might say the old man in the boat.
Ah. Difference between combinations and permutations. Which, don't worry, that's my bread and my butter. It's being spread on the bread as we speak. Combos, permus. Good. So, Levi,
Yes.
would you like to speak of commas? That's first.
Oh.
Combinations, permutations is the last.
Combs and perms. Okay. That's a much better use. Okay, so commas. There are only 4 uses. That's way more than anything else.
Don't mind me.
Just stay there.
I'll just riff on whatever you're doing.
I don't know if I can teach like this.
For I am circumference of the corner. Shing! Shloop! Shing! Shloop!
We gotta teach them. We have to teach them.
I'm sorry.
I don't need an apostrophe here.
Unless it's the commas rules.
Don't encourage it. Go back there. I really like that. Sorry for touching your muscular sternum.
It's okay. It only took me 3 years to build this body.
I don't know if I can do this, honestly.
Sorry.
Okay, first rule or first use of commas is listing. You know how to list things with commas. Just so you know, if you know what the Oxford comma is and you're worried about doing it on the test, it's not on the test. They're not going to test you on it. This session, 90% laughing and jokes and 10% actual learning and academic content. Yes, that's what cram sessions are for. Jelly lays. Hey, what's up?
Lazy.
Jelly lays is a tonal language.
I speak jelly lays.
Okay, so we got listing. Then we got comma fanboys. Please let me know in the chat if you don't know what the fanboys are. But Bird, say them very quickly. Shing.
For and nor, but or yet so.
One more time, sir.
For and nor, but or yet so.
Very good.
And we should remind them that when placed with a comma, they can separate 2 independent clauses. And not only can they, that is what they should be doing. If you ever seen comma fanboys, if you ever see it, it should be between 2 independent clauses, which are 2 complete sentences. If they are not, then it is being used incorrectly. Unless it's at the end of a list. You'll see comma and at the end of a list, and then it's like, okay, that's the
You
caveat.
sound like Anchorman.
No. Nevertheless, I'm a fan of you guys.
Thank you, Jelly.
Oh no.
Everything you do is stupid. Everything you do is stupid. Okay, listing. You know how to list stuff. I'm not going to do that. Comma fanboys, for and nor, but or yet so. DC, comma IC. This is when I walk, comma, I whistle.
I thought it was District of Columbia, District of Columbia.
Stop. Non-essentials. This is when you stick a non-essential element or in a positive, if you've learned that. If you haven't, just totally ignore that word because it's not really indicative of what it means. Stick it in the middle of a sentence. So this could be, my sister prayed I
wouldn't go with this example. The name thing is always confusing.
Okay, that's true.
My sister, a vivacious girl or something like that. I don't know.
Okay, so Brady, a bird, makes bird noises. Okay, do you use a comma for which? Yes, you do.
Depending on the circumstances.
Yes. Like when would you wouldn't? Would you
Here.
not?
So, if you start a sentence with the word which hat is mine? Obviously, you can't put a comma before that. If we're using what's called a relative clause in the middle of a sentence, like the costume which I'm wearing
has a set of chainmail. I should write this out. Okay, so here's the deal. Here's the deal. Here is a sentence. The chainmail is heavy. It must be to protect you from your foes' arrows and daggers. Chainmail is heavy is a sentence. Here is the subject. Here is the verb. However, if I were to put the word that in here, the chainmail that is heavy, it is no longer a sentence. The chainmail that is heavy, what? It needs to be finished. Is no longer the verb of this sentence. It is the verb inside this small description, but it is not the verb of the sentence. I'd have to finish it with something like this. The chainmail that is heavy is metal. That is what you could finish this sentence with. All right? Now, which does something very similar. So the chainmail, which is heavy, is metal. Here's the one difference. With which being used this way, you need to have commas surrounding it because it is a non-essential. Which means this information is not that important. That means this information is that important, so we don't want to regard it as a non-essential. If something is a non-essential, you surround it with commas if it's in the inside of a sentence. The chainmail which I'm wearing is heavy, but the other chainmail, which is rusty, is not as heavy. No! In that case, you would want to put commas around the first part. The chainmail, comma, which I'm wearing, comma, is heavy, comma, but, I like that, comma, fanboys. The other chainmail, comma, which is rusty, comma, is not as heavy. If you wanted to put that in the first part of your sentence, the chainmail that I'm wearing, then you'd be fine to not put commas. But both of those need commas around your which is situation because it is the same kind of clause which starts with which. So you're missing 2 commas, smurfing. I work at your local 7-Eleven. I never heard so much BS. That's too bad. Actually, that you'd want to say, I have never heard so much BS. Because I never heard so much BS just means that you've never heard it. No, that I just made it into the same thing. Anyway.
No, because heard this way is the past tense.
Yeah.
And that's an event. I heard that thing, so I never heard.
The event never happened.
Yeah.
Until now.
Yes. Also, read the last sentence.
Any tips to distinguish whether has, had, or have is correct in ACT English? Yes. Okay. So one of the things you're dealing with is simple subject-verb agreement. Okay? They has finished the test. Obviously, you do not put has with they. They have finished the test. Okay? So has and had are both present, and they're both, I'm sorry, has and have are both present, and they're both conjugations of the verb to have, but depends on the subject if you want to use one. Okay? Had is past tense. That is what you use for past tense, like they had an apple, or past perfect. They had eaten an apple. All right? So you always want to figure out what is your subject. Is it singular or is it plural? Because of that, does it go with have or does it go with has? Can you go over types of transitions? All right, Levi. Now that you've done commas, we need to talk about Robot Dancer's question.
Yes?
What is Robot Dancer's question?
What is Robot Dancer's question?
Which Robot Dancer? So, who asked that?
No, I got the Robot Dancer question. Or I'll bring it up.
That's right now, though.
Yeah, no, yes. What transitions thing are you talking about? Is that Deep Blue who's asking about that?
Like, although, nevertheless, therefore, things like that?
Can I erase these?
Yes. If a comma is not being used in one of those 4 ways, it is wrong.
Unless it's setting up a quote or something like that, it's just very, very uncommon.
Very uncommon, yes. And remember, lists can also be lists of adjectives. The disgusting, juicy, purple steak is gross. Yes, the meanings. Yes, okay, meanings of transition words. Can you call them magic words or something?
Yeah, well, no, I don't anymore.
No. Not since the accident, huh?
Yes. Can you finish erasing that?
Oh, I don't have any rags.
Okay, get one.
I'm
Please,
circumference. I'm circumference.
Yes. What? That's good enough. Thank you for moving this, Matthew.
I'm not meant for such menial labor. I meant to wed the princess, take her hand in marriage, and then kill the king. And then become the king.
Yeah, transitions often get me in tests. I always find myself reading the passage again to figure out which transition word suits the best. Yeah, I mean that is what you're supposed to be doing on those problems. You should not be. It's not just a question of what sounds good. There is an approach, but we will get to it after this, and then combinations and permutations, which will only take about 45 seconds or so each, right? Thanks, Bird. That's useful. Okay, so if the expression up here, 1/2 x plus c times x minus c, where c is a positive constant, can be written as this other thing, what is the value of c? Look at context of sentences around it. Yes, good, Matthew. So here. Oh, for those of you who are now just tuning in, someone posted this question in our Discord, and we just pulled it up. So this is not a question we had. If it were, then we would make it look nicer than this. This is someone's work, and they took a picture and sent it to us, and now we're putting it up. So if you want that to be done with your questions, then do that. Okay, so we have this expression up top, and then it can be written as this other expression, what is the value of c? If you have two expressions and you're told that they can be written as each other, then therefore you're going to have an equal sign in between there. That's the thing that's the logical leap you have to make here. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to say we're starting with 1/2 x plus c x minus c, and then we get 1/2 x squared minus 5. We're going to get there eventually. I'm going to FOIL this out because that seems to be the only thing to do, really. They also say that c is a positive constant. That just means it's not a variable. Okay? It's not it also means it's not negative, it's not 0. So I'm going to leave the 1/2 out front for now, and we get x squared minus c squared. I know that because this is the difference of squares. You should be able to recognize this. It will help you immensely on the test. Also, let me know if anybody's gotten an email this evening about the test being canceled, because one of my students did, and I just want to see how many people had that problem. The student's in Chicago, so maybe that'll help. Okay, so this is what we have, and we're told that this equals 1/2 x squared minus 5, right? Okay, these look pretty similar, but we're not quite there yet, because in this case we have 1/2 x squared, so we seem to have that, but then we have the minus c squared here, but there's still a 1/2, and that actually matters. So we can't say that c squared just equals 5, because it doesn't. What we have to do is we have to distribute the 1/2, so we get 1/2 x squared minus 1/2 c squared, and that equals 1/2 x squared minus 5. This will cancel with this because they're the same thing. The negatives will cancel, or we can multiply by -1 or add them both to whatever. So you just get 1/2 c squared equals 5. So now we're just solving for c, right? So let's multiply by 2 on both sides. We get c squared equals 10. So we get c equals radical 10. We know it's the positive root of 10 because it told us that c is a positive constant. I don't know if there were answer choices here, but whatever that would be. Robot answer in the future, looking at this, hello. Matthew, does this please you? Are you pleased? I didn't necessarily know what to do here, but we were told that this expression can be the other one, then you have to solve for c. So you're probably making an equation. Once you have an equation, you're solving your equation. Make them look the same. That's what's got to happen here. You get rid of your x's, then you're just solving for c. Okay, now we're doing, or we, by we I mean Brady, is doing combinations and permutations. Or is it still circumference? It's still circumference.
This chainmail is heavy, I grow weary. Shing, schloop. May I disrobe?
You can, yes. Quickly. Okay. And then after that, we'll get to transitions. And I can actually pull up an ACT if you'd like. If you have an ACT, who was asking about this? The transitions. It was Deep Blue again. Okay, Deep Blue, if you have an ACT in mind, then yes. Otherwise, I'll just pull up one, and there are definitely transition questions on the English section of that. Bird, where have you been?
I don't know, man. I just kind of... Skull, man. Math is boring. I think you're thinking of the element boron.
In which case, yes.
Well, you can use math to represent boron in certain cases. Anyway, here we go. Combinations and permutations. Okay, so let's say that we're going to the ice cream store, and we have a couple different flavors to choose from. We got chocolate, we got vanilla, and we got strawberry. Interesting. All right, and they say, hey, we'll give you 2 scoops. What flavors do you want? And so you can say, I want these 2 flavors or those 2 flavors, okay? If you want 2 scoops, there are a couple different combinations you can make here. You could do chocolate and vanilla, you could do chocolate and strawberry, and then you could do vanilla and strawberry, okay? Those right there are called combinations. Combinations is where order does not matter. So CV, chocolate then vanilla, would be the same thing as vanilla then chocolate, so we don't count the second one. Order does not matter for combinations. This is located on your calculator, okay? You go to Math, Probability, you're going to see NCR. This is the combinations function. N is the total. Is that still here? Yeah. N is the total number you have. R is the number you're choosing. So here, we have a total of 3 objects, and we're choosing 2 of them. We're assembling them into groupings of 2. So in your calculator, you would say 3 choose 2 is what that is, and that will give you 3 options. We have 3 options right here. All right, now they're going to say, hey, what kind of flavor do you want on the bottom of your cone, and what kind of flavor do you want on the top of your cone? So you could pick the same 2 flavors, but then have them switched, and that gives you a new kind of ice cream cone, okay? So in that case, we could have chocolate and vanilla, or vanilla then chocolate. We could have chocolate and strawberry, or strawberry then chocolate, or we could have vanilla and strawberry, or strawberry then vanilla, okay? These right here are where order matters. These are your permutations. As you can probably tell, there will always be more permutations than there are combinations because order creates new possibilities, okay? NPR, that's what you're going to use here, National Public Radio. 3 objects. We're permuting groupings of 2. There will be 6 total options, all right? Let your calculator do the heavy lifting. It has this programmed into it if it is a graphing calculator, okay? That's the difference. The way that I remember the difference is permutation sounds way more complicated. It's not a word you hear that often. It sounds like a lot of computer chip, silicon, space age, robot, chrome, beep beep boop, a lot of that stuff when I hear permutations in my head. That's the one that's more complicated. Combinations is a friendlier word. It's a little simpler. That's the one that's not as complicated, the one where order does not matter. No, absolutely not. Boneless potato. Now I forget what boneless spot. Boneless spot is what I was saying before. Do not need to know the 2 formulas. Let your calculator do the heavy lifting. It knows the formulas in there. Okay. If your calculator does not have that formula, then yeah, you'll have to go online and look at those 2 formulas, but otherwise get used to knowing how to use these on your calculator. Some calculators allow you to plug something in for N and something in for R. Other calculators, you have to put your first number on the screen first, and then choose the function NCR, and then put your second number after. It is a good idea to check out your calculator and get comfortable with the way that it does this, okay? Older calculators are the latter way I showed you, and more recent calculators let you plug things into both boxes, okay? So a very simple problem would be like, let's say there are 20 little chillins in a class, which are kids, and they're gonna make a little student government, little student council, little stud council. A student council will have 3 members. No particular positions, you just get 3 kids together and they're the student council. So, how many student councils could they possibly create? That is the question here. I want you guys to say on the chat if we're going to use combinations or permutations here.
Wait, no, 3, my lord.
It's 3 students in the student council. Okay, so let's see. Boneless potato. Go to math and probability. Yes, that is correct. 1140. We will see about that. And Annie 1 said combinations. Yes, you guys are all doing. Oh, I just erased that. Yeah, you're gonna do combinations here because Billy, Becky, and Levi is the same group as Levi, Billy, and Becky. We don't want to double count that or really triple count it if you put the other kids in another order. Yeah, exactly. Actually, there'd be 6 orderings of those 3 kids. But it doesn't matter. You don't want to overcount with permutations. It's just 3 kid grouping. So you're going to use combinations. 20, choose 3, which is going to get you 1,140 possible student councils. Thank you, Annie 1. Annie did 1. Annie did win. Permutations would be something like there are 3 positions on the group: president, vice president, and secretary. So now you could take the same 3 kids and shuffle them around and create different student councils. That would be permutations. Whoever originally asked for combinations versus permutations, I believe that was Annie 1. Is there a table of standard integrals provided? Oh, crumbs. You are hilarious. Integrals do not pop up on the ACT. That would be insane if they did that. Annie, are you good with combos and perms? Any other questions specifically about certain situations with combs and perms? Combs and perms, actually. Permutations, order matters. Combinations, order doesn't matter. Yes, very good. All right. Levi, transitions. Unless we sort of already talked about it. Go get him, Levi.
Did we?
Did you?
No,
I didn't do it.
No. I think we should do a question on it. Because they're pretty straightforward questions, but people think that they can just kind of do them willy-nilly, and they can't do them willy-nilly.
Yeah. When is a good time to ask about English, reading, or science questions? I don't want to really interrupt our math lesson, huh? Jelly lays. We did reading, science, and English earlier in the stream. Now, if you have specific questions... I'm sorry. I thought you were just asking for general strategies. We covered general strategies earlier in the stream. If you have specific questions, throw them out. We are here for you. As in, throw them out at us. Throw them at us. Don't throw them out. That implies that they're in the garbage. There's no interruptions here. We want your questions. We have a queue. We will put your questions on the queue. And right now, we have our last topic that we're about to go over. So there's no topic after. So you can go ahead and just sneak on there, and we should be getting to it pretty soon. Thank you for the question, and no need to be so worried about being rude. This is Twitch, man.
Twitch, dude.
This is Twitch, man. We're all having fun.
Okay, can you see number 8 here? Is that big enough, or do you need me to expand this thing a little bit more? It seems fine, right? Okay, so recognition for these questions is pretty straightforward. You see that you have transition words. They're pretty easy to identify. So we have eventually, of course, however, and therefore. These questions lend themselves to you just saying, okay, let me just read and see what sounds nice. Don't do that. It's a waste of time. Your gut feeling will be there no matter how you approach any question, so don't approach it with your gut feeling only, okay? What you want to do is make sure that you know all of these words. If you don't, then you're kind of out of luck unless that happens to be the right answer and you can disprove all the other ones, or one just is so awesome that you pick it and you're pumped. Okay, so what the approach is, after you identify that this is a transition question, is you need to figure out the 2 ideas that you're transitioning between. Don't end with a preposition. But the 2 ideas between which you are transitioning. So let's figure out what those 2 ideas are. It's generally just the full sentence before and the full sentence following that transition words, but sometimes it's a little bit more or even a little bit less than that. In this case, I'm going to read from a little bit earlier to figure out what's going on. So it looks like there's a museum in Scotland and there's dinosaurs or something. More creations appeared at other places. You know what? I'm going to figure out what the answer to number 7 is so I don't have an issue here. Okay, I'm going to say it's D, maybe? So we have more creations appeared at several libraries and museums devoted to books and writing. So there were some creations, and then more creations appeared at these other places devoted to books and writing. That's our first idea. More creations have appeared, I think. Then we have our transition. Let's ignore it entirely. And then we have a total of 10 sculptures were bestowed on special institutions whose staff are thrilled by their luck. Okay. Those two things seem to go together, right? They're not contrasting. That's one of the main things with transition. Do you have contrast? Okay? I don't think we have contrast, so I would say that J is wrong. Because J is however. We don't like however because we're not saying that more creations appeared at other places. However, a total of 10 sculptures were bestowed on special institutions. No, those are aligned with each other at the very least. So I don't like J. Then we have therefore, eventually, and of course. This is actually a hard one. Therefore is causation, right? A, therefore B. I like chocolate, therefore I eat a lot of s'mores, or something like that. Is that what's happening here? Is the first idea causing the second idea? They are related, but we need causation to be able to use therefore. We have more creations appeared, and then a total of 10 sculptures were bestowed. There's not quite causation here. It's not quite saying, because both of them are producing these creations, right? More creations appeared, therefore a total of 10 sculptures were bestowed. It's a little off. Please let me know if you want to argue about that, but it's not quite causation. It's kind of repeating itself, honestly, but in a more specific way, right? More creations appeared, a total of 10 were bestowed on institutions. One did not cause the other because they are the same thing. So I don't like F, I don't like J. Now we have eventually and of course. I don't know why you would say of course here. Of course means obviously, or ostensibly, or that's all I got. Of course is very off, right? You're not saying of course there were a total of 10. That doesn't make any sense. So H is gone. I would say G makes sense. Eventually a total of 10 sculptures were bestowed on special institutions. That makes sense. More things are appearing. Eventually 10 total sculptures ended up at these special institutions. That is how you need to go about these questions, okay? It might sound nice with eventually. I don't know, because I don't try to do that, okay? Because you're still trying to end up doing the same thing in your head. You're just not focusing on it. Focus on exactly that, and you will be able to pick up on the intricacies of the relationship between your two ideas. Identify the two ideas before trying different answer choices, okay? So there are a couple different things. There's contrast. There's chronology, so the order of things. There's emphasis. There's examples. Levels. Now I want to talk about levels. This is, I think, the most interesting one and a very important one. But surprisingly not too difficult to understand, I think. So contrast is contrast. You're comparing two things, and there is a contrast there. So more creations appeared at these places. However, they all broke within 2 weeks. There's clearly contrast there because one thing is positive, things are showing up, and then they all break. Right? There's contrast. Then there's chronology. So this happens, then this happens. That could also be they all showed up, then they all broke. So you probably wouldn't have to choose between however and then, something like that. Then we have emphasis. So that's something like indeed or further or something like that, right? We're emphasizing this idea, or it also can be giving examples, which is what levels is. So levels is very important because people don't necessarily think about that. That's when you have the most obvious example is for example. So let's see. An example of, for example. So, I do math with Brady.
Yay!
For example, we spend hours doing combinations and permutations on Twitch, something like that. So there are different levels to that, right? We have a general thing of Brady and I do math, and then here's the specific math that we're doing. That's at a lower level. It's way more specific. So you'd say something like, for example, that is a very important relationship to be able to identify. Or it can go the other way, because and then the transition would be very different. You wouldn't say Brady and I do this, this, and this. You know, we worked on this problem, this problem, this problem, and then the next idea is Brady and I like teaching people on Twitch, right? Then we're going up in a level, right? So then you could say something like generally or overall, or some transition that takes you out of a lower level concept into a higher level concept that's more general. Okay? That is the approach to all of these. Nobody's asked another question, right? So unless there's something in the Discord. Is there something in the Discord, Bird?
I will check.
Okay. I'm going to do one more of these transition questions if no one is averse to that. Nobody's said anything, but also nobody's left the stream, so everybody seems pretty content.
Nothing in Discord.
Nothing in the Discord. All right, I'll do one more of these. Holler if you don't want me to. We can do something else. Very happy to do something else. Okay, I'm just looking for more transition words, and then just going to pick that one out. What do we got? Did you already cover standard deviation? No, we didn't. Bird, you want to do standard deviation?
Sure.
Oh, every time I take the English section, there are always questions that stump me. I have a firm grasp of the concepts. However, I always find that there are questions that just do not make sense to me. Any tips? Yeah. Tip number 1, however is not an adequate transition between two independent clauses. In this case, you're using it as a non-essential, which is great. However is a non-essential in this case. But you have two independent clauses. There are always questions that stump me. Then you have a period. Then you have I have a firm grasp of the concepts. Then after that, you have, I always find that there are some questions that just do not make sense to me. You have two independent clauses. You've connected them with, oh boy, that's my head. You've connected them with however and two commas. However is a non-essential or in a positive. You take it out, and then you just have two independent clauses that are not connected by anything more than maybe a comma. That's not good enough. You need to separate two independent clauses with a period, a semicolon, a colon, or a comma fanboys. You have none of those. However is not one of the comma fanboys, even though it's a more complicated word than for and nor, but, or, yet, so. It's not one of them, so it's not good enough for that. Does that make sense? I know that was kind of annoying and fast, but just saying. Any tips for the English section? What types of questions stump you? Are they the sentence organization ones, or are they the word choice ones? The word choice ones and some of the preposition ones are idiomatic, and if you don't know it, then you don't know it. Concepts, however. Don't know what that means, Blackout. I'm sorry. But we are doing standard deviation soon. But clarify that, Blackout. Let's do one more of these. Did I find one yet, or no? I don't think I did. So there are always questions that stump you. People who are good at the English section but get stumped on questions, it's generally idiomatic ones. You can use however after a semicolon. Yes, oh, sorry. Oh, I see. I didn't realize that was a semicolon. But yes, Blackout is right. That's a very common use of how you use a transitional word like however. It's not good enough to grammatically separate things, but conceptually it is. Good. Thank you, Blackout. I'm a doofus. Okay, no transitions for a while. Here we go, 52. All right, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And then Bird, you're up, yeah?
Got it.
Maybe we can add something to this list in a sec. Okay, so let's identify our two ideas first. First idea would be coming before. I'm just going to read the whole paragraph. In one study, researchers used a laser beam and advanced optical techniques to measure winds. The observatory also keeps detailed weather records that scientists have used to track climate trends and weather patterns. Great. So this seems like the idea is researchers are using laser beams and optical techniques, and then the observatory keeps detailed records, and scientists can track stuff. Cool. Then we have our transition, and then we have the observatory has also advanced scientists' understanding of clouds, ice physics, and the atmosphere. Okay. Not a lot of contrast going on here, right? The first part of the paragraph, our first idea, is saying this is how the researchers use the laser beam and this technology, and they track weather stuff. And then the idea after our transition is the observatory has also advanced these other things. This question is on redundancy. You're absolutely right. I'm very sorry. Good point. I got excited because I saw in addition. I didn't read anything else. So I assume the answer is F because, yes, because later in the sentence you say the observatory has also. You shouldn't say in addition, additionally, or also earlier in the sentence. Yes. So this is not a transition question. Massively disappointing and makes me look stupid. Maybe there's not any more. Oh, no, okay, 68, yeah? This is my last try. Like, for example, I always get a few problems wrong only to find out that it was really silly mistakes, like very silly. But I always make these. Is there a way to completely eliminate silly mistakes? Yes, there is. Let me just hit this real quick because this matters for every single section. Not the math so much. You shouldn't necessarily be proving answers wrong in the math unless you have a very specific question that lends itself to that. But especially in the English section, you should be proving answers wrong, not proving them right. Do not go with what your gut feeling says sounds the best. There are rules to all of the grammar stuff. There are reasons why all 3 wrong answers are wrong. Find those. It's easier to make mistakes picking things you like than it is to when you're pointing things out that you don't like. Okay? So identify problems. Don't pick things that you're like, oh, I can convince myself this is right, because that's where you make mistakes. That is how I always teach avoiding simple mistakes, because they happen. You need to practice not making them, and the way to not make simple mistakes on any given problem is to know exactly why these 3 answers are wrong. If you said, oh, I like answer choice H, that's awesome, but if you haven't looked at J, maybe you missed something. You're much less likely to miss something if you have looked at all 4 answers and you say, I know this is wrong because of this is wrong because of this is wrong because of this, and this seems okay. All right, let me just hit number 68 real quick. This is actually a transition question. We have subsequently, regardless, however, and for example. Okay, subsequently falls under chronology. For example, falls under levels. However, falls under contrast. And regardless also falls under contrast. Slightly different from however, possibly. So we have McCoy applied the principle of invention? Really? Oh, McCoy applied the principles of this invention to other engineering challenges. Okay, this is also another thing to notice. This transition, word or words, is in the middle of a sentence. It can technically go at the beginning, right? You would say, in this case, you have factories in the late 1800s, for example, increasingly relied on steam engines. You could also say, for example, factories in the 1800s increasingly relied on steam engines. That's another alternative way to say it, so that's how we should say it, because that gives us our 2 ideas. So McCoy applied these principles of invention to other engineering challenges. That's our first thing. So McCoy applies his principles. Great. And then we have the next idea, which is factories in the late 1800s increasingly relied on steam engines to power factory machines. Okay, interesting. I want to know what these principles are, because I don't actually necessarily understand the relationship between these 2 ideas at all. What is McCoy's invention? Has anybody done this test recently and knows what it's about? McCoy was assigned to work on the wheel bearing, so he made stuff.
The self-oiling machine, a self-oiling engine, I believe.
Okay. This automatic lubricating device became the first of his 57 patents. Okay, so he patented this thing, and then he applied this principle to other engineering challenges. Okay. Then factories in the late 1800s increasingly relied on steam engines. Was he working on steam engines or no?
Pardon me?
Yeah, can you help me figure this out?
Okay.
I just want to make sure.
I've done this one before.
Yeah.
Which question?
It's the transition one, 68.
68. Okay.
Yeah.
For example,
So I'm leaning away from contrast here, but unless steam engines.
For example, other engineering challenges. Then they give you examples of what those other engineering challenges were.
had to be oiled manually. Yeah, I would say that regardless and however, since we're talking about eliminating answer choices, regardless and however are contrast, right? And we don't really want contrast here. He's working on engines, and then we have steam engines. So it's not going against that, so I'd get rid of those two. And then we have subsequently and for example. If he's applying these principles, that's a higher level idea, and then we drop down to the level of factories in the 1800s, you relied on steam engines, right? So that's dropping down to something specific.
Yeah, and they go into using McCoy's invention on the steam engine in the factory's parts. So this whole thing is an example of the other engineering challenges that he applied his invention to.
Yeah. Okay. Standard deviation, you want to do that?
Sure.
Cool. Any questions on transition stuff? It's not a super hard question type, but it's a very easy question type to make mistakes on because it's such a straightforward concept. Remember, this test overall is about taking the right approach and the most accurate approach. And that keeps you away from simple mistakes. So that's the main thing that I would tell you, Jelly Lays.
Okay, so one thing is that one of our sponsors is, hold on, wait for it. Well, up until it comes up, you got two lists of numbers here, okay? Standard deviation has to do with how spread out they are. So the first thing you want to do is figure out, okay, you never have to actually calculate the standard deviation. You just have to know when a standard deviation is going to be large or small, okay? Anyway, if you've ever found yourself stressed out because there's a lot of assignments and things you need to work on and essays, and there's so many things you don't know how to schedule yourself, Alta Ipsum is the way to go.
This thing.
It's an application you put on your smartphone or your computer. You put all of your academic things into it, and then it tells you when to study, what to study for, how you're doing according to your grades, sets a schedule
you're outsourcing
for you.
your stress into this beast.
Correct.
And when the computer revolution ultimately takes over the world and enslaves the entire human race, it's important to make sure that they have human stresses so that they treat us better. They need to understand us.
Alta Ipsum is that is what it's actually doing.
Yes.
Long term. It's free for a month.
Yep.
It's been free this entire past month, but you just didn't use it.
Yeah.
So you're losing value as you continue to not use this.
Which is a huge, pretty embarrassing mistake on your part.
Now it is the summer, so we understand if you're like, well, I don't need this right now, but I will definitely get it when school starts.
Yeah, the summer is time for losing money.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Alta Ipsum is what's for breakfast.
Great.
Next thing. Okay, standard deviation. It's a measure of spread. Okay, if you think about what your mean of these lists is going to be, remember the mean is the average. You add up all the numbers. What did you guys major in? I majored in product design, which is part of mechanical engineering, and Levi majored in, it was theater and performance studies with a minor in French and computer science?
Yeah.
Yeah, he majored in theater with a minor in French and computer science. Ring Matthews, comedy. Oh, jeez. Well, anyway, Levi and I both have theater experience. Not that makes you funny. It's your face. That's what makes you funny. Levi and I have very funny faces. Okay, so the first thing you want to figure out is what the mean of the list is. Okay, so we got 6 numbers. You add them all up. You divide by 6. This is going to be 9 plus 15 divided by 6, which is going to give us 20. Oh, this is going to be nice. 24 over 6, which is 4. The mean is 4, okay? Question is, on average, how far apart are these numbers from the middle number, the mean, okay? So this right here is 1 unit away, this is 1 unit away, this is 1 unit. I'm going to just put that here, 1, 1, and 1. This is 0 units away, this is 0 units away, and this is 3 units away, okay? So far, they're pretty clustered around 4, okay? So if you said, hey, are these pretty spread out? Well, not really, but it's relative. You have to compare to a different data list and figure out, are these things spread out as much as the other list or not, okay? Then we have these 4 numbers right here. I'm going to use my phone calculator because I can't do these that quickly. Plus 112, plus 364, 577 divided by 4. All right, the mean is 144.25. Okay? Annie wants something in French, Levi, so that's up to you.
All right, we got tout le monde qui parle français. Why are you saying this? Everyone who speaks French is intelligent. The other languages are inferior.
Isn't that like the standard French sentence they teach you first day?
Yeah.
Because French people are required to say that at least once a day.
Would it be intelligent? Would there be an E at the end of intelligent? I think there shouldn't be an E, right? Come on, Annie. Maybe I'm wrong.
Okay. So these, we talked about their spread away from the average, which is 4. These ones, the average of this list is 144.25, and all of these are approximate. These are the spreads. These are how far away these numbers are from this number. Now, as you can tell, these numbers are much bigger than these numbers, okay? If you were to draw out a distribution of where these values are, and I realize I'm standing right between these two blue things, and it looks like two faces kissing, or is it a vase? Who knows? I usually say vase. I don't know why I said vase. This bell curve here, if this is your average, these are all super clustered around the average. These ones are a little farther away from the average. All right, there is a formula that lets you figure out standard deviation. Remember, deviation means how far are you away from something. In this case, it's how far are you away from your average. And you don't need to know the formula. It's kind of complicated. It's not as easy as you think, but the way you can think about it is on average, how far are my data values away from our middle value? In this case, on average, they're very, very close to our middle number. I'm not going to actually calculate the average deviation, which is a totally different, it's a similar measure. These ones have a much larger standard deviation because their spread is much larger, okay? That's really what you need to know about standard deviation. You know, if this thing had a standard deviation of like 50, then let's see, what that would mean is that like on average, you pick a random value, it's going to be 50 units above or below. That's not really what it means, but that's what you got to understand. This list has a larger standard deviation because they're more spread out. This list has a smaller standard deviation because they're more clustered. Okay? Oh, Mr. Levi, are you, all right, you're
Monsieur.
a Frenchman.
Yes, I am. I'm a Frenchman.
Oh, I want to be a Frenchman. Can I be a Frenchman?
You can be a Frenchman.
How, is I'm a Frenchman?
Yes.
Yay.
Very off-centered, outside the lines type of Frenchman.
Oh.
Oui.
Ha ha. I want to give up to the Germans.
Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done. Levi, it's getting late.
It's getting very late.
It's getting late, guys.
It's getting late early.
It's getting early late.
All right, so everybody ready for the test tomorrow morning?
Woo! It's not tomorrow morning. It's the
Oh,
next
it
day.
is for some people. If you don't know who you are, then you are out of luck.
What are you referring to?
If you don't have a strong sense of self, you're going to have a bad time.
That's true in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta work on that sense of self.
Yep.
Because really, at the end of the day,
At the end of days.
At the end of day, that's all got. You got. At the end of day.
At the end of day, all you have.
Tout le monde qui parle français est intelligente. Les autres langues sont inférieures. How was my accent?
Offensive to most people.
I covered a lot of them in there, huh?
I heard, yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
I think you grouped Asia all together. You threw in some Spanish flair.
You don't know that. I was speaking French. That's what French people do. You should be mad at French people.
French people do speak French.
Anyone?
Much too often.
Russian? In what context? Do we know Russian?
Maginot Line was so useful. That's true.
Yes, it was. Until it wasn't.
Didn't that become the prime meridian?
No.
Oh.
That is not what the Maginot Line was at all.
They were related.
Yeah. That's why they invaded Belgium. They invaded sweet, sweet Belgium.
Who wouldn't?
I wouldn't. Thank you.
That's because you're not German.
Your accent's not a Russian. Oh. Oh, okay.
Ruski.
To the moon. No, I'm not gonna try it. Forget it.
All
All right,
right.
guys.
So we're streaming then all the time this summer.
To West.
We'll
6 to
probably
7:30.
make it later again in the fall for the school year, but maybe not. Hey, are all you people on the East Coast / middle of the coast country, or are you on the West Coast of the country?
Or perhaps in the middle of the country.
That's what I said, the middle coast.
Your Twitch description is wrong.
Yes,
Oh,
we
really?
did just change that.
What does it say?
I think it probably still says 8 to 9:30.
Oh, jeez.
You change that for us?
Ring Matthews. You always are the bearer of true but bad news.
So, everybody, you don't need it, but good luck on the ACT on Saturday. We'll be back Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. We obviously went way later than we normally do tonight because the test is in 2 days, but we'll be back to normal stuff. We can do SAT stuff. We can get you into college if you give us like $50.
Levi. Levi.
Yeah, what you want?
I am retired.
You are a little tired, huh?
I am retired.
Taxi.
I've been streaming for so long. I'm going to remove the accents.
I thought that was like a nice Transylvania accent.
I'm going to stream your blood into my Twitch.
Okay.
It doesn't mean anything. It
I
sounds
know that.
weird.
Oh yes.
Oh, yeah.
But so does everything you say.
That's not true.
For
We
the
don't
reading-
condone
Ow,
violence.
ow, ow, ow.
We don't condone violence.
For the reading section, any tips for running out of time?
Yeah.
Yes. Don't do much.
Don't do.
And then play any video games?
We have.
Yeah.
In the past.
Do you?
Yeah. Man. Do you play any video? What, dude? That's how I talk.
Yeah.
No, not currently. Not a lot of video games currently. We take up Mario Kart, Super Smash, Melee on the Cube every now and then.
The old cube, the cubular prism word.
Cubular game box. Used to play a fair amount of Xbox. Don't do much. Yeah, what was that supposed to mean? So wait, you do want to run out of time? Okay. Oh, in general, if you guys run out of time, before you run out of time, so like when they say 5 minutes left, all the things you've not gotten to, bubble in the same letter. Whatever your letter you're feeling, if it's C, bubble in C for all of them, okay? Because you can guess and get something right, there's a quarter chance, and you don't want to guess a bunch of random ones. You want to guess all the C's, or just whatever letter, always B, exactly, because then you're going to get at least all the B's right, and there should be a quarter of them, and that's the best probability you can hope for.
Yeah, or try to game the system, which is possible.
No, it's not.
Oh,
Unless you have a GameCube.
right.
Hey, must get a musket. Or is it, muska,
Must.
Adam, usk it?
Yeah, that's probably it.
Can you donate $1 to Mike Gravel's campaign before Friday?
Oh, we are sponsored by Mike Gravel's campaign.
He's
actually.
donating $1 to us before Friday.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, it might have just been your dollar that you donated to Mike Gravel.
I agree with my business partner.
As you should. I know business.
Yeah.
I know
And I know
business
partnership.
like my own partner.
I know business like I know the back of my palm.
Is that inside your hand?
Yeah.
Like under the skin?
Yeah, because my skin sloughed off the other day, and I just looked at it for a while.
Man, you love sloughing off. Don't you?
I love sloughing off.
When
dude.
things slough off.
Things slough off.
Yeah.
All right.
We're going to go now before we get ourselves into trouble.
Yep.
What is the best strategy for the reading section? I normally read the whole passage in depth. Earlier today we talked reading.
Yes.
Check
so,
that out.
Yeah, there's a point where I'm here for a while, and then the reading section is here also for a while, and I talk about a couple things. Bird talks about a couple things. You'll enjoy it a lot. Have a lovely night, everybody. Good luck. You don't need it. And we'll see some of you who aren't taking the test or some of you who are on Tuesday. Oh my gosh. That was awful.